The story begins with Su Hong practicing martial arts. After receiving a punch, his friend cannot accept the stinging pain he feels and asks if Su Hong has perhaps reached the micro-level of mastery. Su Hong replies that he attained this level just 2 days ago. In this world, the degree of mastery for any martial art is divided into 5 levels: basic, proficient, micro-level, mastered, and perfect. His friend comments that this is incredible, as no one in the class can compare to him when it comes to the Vajra fist. Su Hong asks his friend if he has rested enough since they need to continue training, but his friend calls him a cultivation maniac who does not know how to stay still. His friend says goodbye to everyone and leaves. At the same time, teacher Lee finds Su Hong. The teacher asks why he has not yet paid the 30,000 registration fee for the martial arts department, as registration closes next Monday. He asks teacher Lee if he can have a few more days, but the man replies that although he knows the family is struggling, he cannot change the rules. Su Hong continues his training while thinking about the 30,000 registration fee. He reflects on his past, recalling how his parents died in a ferocious beast disaster when he was only 3 years old. Since that tragedy, he has lived with his uncle and aunt. After they learned he had a talent for martial arts, they dedicated themselves fully to supporting his training. In this era where ferocious beasts run rampant, being a martial artist is an absolutely high-income profession. He is training to give them a better life, but his pursuit is currently making their lives even harder. Eventually, he returns home. Before entering, he overhears his aunt and uncle discussing the rent, as they want to delay the rent payment so they can prioritize paying Su Hong's registration fee. They know Hong's talent is so good that he will become successful in the future, so they cannot hold the child back. His aunt even suggests stopping her medication since it will not cure her anyway, which would save a lot of money. However, her husband refuses the idea, stating he will work another job and telling her to just rest to recover her health. Su Hong feels terrible hearing this conversation. He slaps his own face to compose himself before opening the door and announcing his arrival. His aunt asks why he practiced until so late and tells him to rest while she prepares food. He goes to his room and realizes his family has sacrificed enough for him. He decides he must solve his own problems, noting that a martial artist can earn tens of thousands in just a few days. He considers that there is only one specific place to go. The next day, he arrives at the underground martial arena. The announcer welcomes the audience and introduces the one defending the ring as Mr. Minotaur. She declares that if he wins 4 matches in a row, he can take home 60,000 in prize money. The crowd wonders who this person is, assuming he must be a rookie. The hostess asks him to show some passion to heat up the atmosphere, but he does not understand how to do that. She tells him to provoke and curse the audience, thinking that rookies are troublesome. Su Hong immediately roars that below the level of a martial artist, he is invincible, and he calls the weaklings in that place to come and fight him. The audience finds him arrogant and predicts he will die without even realizing it. Because of that, everyone begins asking for someone to kill the Minotaur, shouting, "Screw the Minotaur." He realizes the killing intent in the underground arena is heavy, but he knows this is the only way to quickly gather his tuition fees. A fighter enters the arena and vows to play with him. Su Hong observes that while the opponent's momentum is strong, his lower body seems unstable and easy to win against. As the man charges, he also gets ready and strikes him directly under the chin, throwing him out of the arena. He calls for the next opponent as the announcer celebrates his first win. The crowd cheers and another fighter steps up, warning Su Hong that he will not have the same luck. Su Hong judges the opponent's physique and decides he can use this man to test the power of his Vajra fist. The two fighters charge and collide their fists, but he notices an opening. Because the man used too much force with his upper body, he left his waist exposed. Su Hong delivers a kick that sends the fighter flying out of the arena. He demands the next challenger immediately. Meanwhile, a man watching from a balcony notes that the boy is not even a quasi-martial artist, yet his strength exceeds that of the average martial apprentice. On stage, Su Hong wins one more time. The organizer thinks someone like him is perfect for match fixing. His subordinate offers to take care of him, and the man warns him not to reveal that he has already been promoted to martial artist. In the ring, Su Hong reflects that dealing with these ordinary apprentices is not difficult with his micro-level Vajra fist. If he wins one more match, he will get the 60,000 prize money. Suddenly, the crowd shouts that White Fox is coming into the ring. People wonder if he is not a quasi-martial artist and if his participation constitutes cheating. Su Hong becomes concerned because this match looks difficult, though he knows he cannot lose. White Fox smiles and tells him not to be afraid because he knows how to pull his punches. The final match begins and both fighters launch forward. Su Hong realizes his cultivation realm is lower, so he decides he must go all out with his very first move. They collide their fists and he immediately realizes his opponent is not a quasi-martial artist. He becomes worried because the man is a true martial artist who deliberately suppressed his vitality. White Fox inhales and unleashes his Thunder Rush Fist. The terrifying power manages to seriously injure Su Hong, causing him to groan in pain. The audience recognizes the three-echo Thunder Rush Fist and concludes that the Minotaur is done for. White Fox continues to attack frantically, while Su Hong focuses entirely on defending. He knows that if this continues, he will lose, so he desperately searches for a chance to counterattack. However, a blow breaks through his guard and strikes his face, throwing him to the other side of the arena. He feels his consciousness fading as White Fox places a foot on his head, telling him that he will not earn a single cent from this match, but mentions that his teacher is inviting him to join them. White Fox promises a great future if he agrees to fix matches, warning him to think carefully because he cannot afford the price of refusal. Su Hong asks if they really call themselves martial artists while doing things like this. White Fox takes this as a refusal and decides he has no choice but to cripple him so he can never become a martial artist. But before the kick lands, Su Hong feels an incredible pressure and manages to dodge the attack. He stands up as a red aura surrounds him, declaring that he will become a martial artist and cannot fall here. White Fox is shocked that he can still stand after taking a Thunder Rush Fist. Su Hong cannot let the sacrifices of his uncle and aunt go to waste. He refuses to accept a future where he gives up his faith. A system interface appears, asking what he is willing to sacrifice for his family and his faith. He replies that he will give everything, and an incredible power begins to surge from his body. Suddenly, Su Hong feels as if he has been transported to another realm. He opens his eyes and wonders what kind of place this is, as a massive, radiant figure stands before him. This giant being declares that he will grant him a chance. A golden aura flows toward him, materializing into a system interface that displays his name and various attributes. He wonders if this screen behaves like a touchscreen, so he decides to click on the Missions tab. The mission is titled Way of the Arena, described as a path to becoming a powerhouse. The objective requires him to polish his martial arts by raising his Vajra Fist to the Mastered level and increasing his Floating Light Palm and Void Step to the Micro level. Su Hong notes that this is a beginner's guide mission. Suddenly, a punch flies toward him and he dodges in surprise. He realizes he is facing a clone of himself that is using the Vajra Fist with a refinement that matches textbook standards. Not wanting to miss a chance to learn, he moves to counterattack. However, the clone intercepts his arm and demonstrates the correct form for the technique. Su Hong takes the impact of a blow and stumbles back. He checks his system and notices that his progress with the Vajra Fist has reached 10%. Since it was only 7% before, he cannot believe it is improving this fast. He realizes this is an ideal opportunity to quickly upgrade his martial skills, so he charges back into battle. The two begin exchanging blows frantically, and Su Hong's techniques level up as the fight continues. Eventually, he reaches 100% proficiency, bringing Floating Light Palm and Void Step to the micro level, while his Vajra Fist reaches Mastered status. As he defeats his clone, it disappears. A system notification congratulates him for completing the mission and issues the rewards, asking if he agrees to return to reality. He agrees, and back in the arena, his body overflows with an incredible aura. White Fox moves to attack, annoyed that his target is acting mysterious. He uses his Thunder Rush Fist, but Su Hong finds his movements far too slow. He throws a punch that shatters White Fox's mask and knocks him unconscious. The audience watches in total disbelief. Su Hong stands over the defeated White Fox. He turns around and simply states that he wants to receive his prize money since he won the fourth match. The announcer confirms the victory and congratulates the Minotaur for successfully defending the ring and winning the 60,000 grand prize. Up in a private box, a man is confused as to how a martial apprentice could cultivate the Vajra Fist to the Mastered level when most martial artists cannot. He orders his guards to follow our boy and uncover his true identity. Su Hong leaves the arena and quickly realizes he is being followed. He mocks their attempt to track him and uses his speed to vanish. The two guards are baffled by his disappearance, though they are determined to find him. Su Hong now knows that someone is trying to track him, so he waits for some time and makes his way home an hour later. His uncle and aunt are frightened by the large stack of money, asking if he robbed a bank. He tells them he is working as a sparring partner at a dojo where the master decided to sponsor his studies. He asks his uncle and aunt to trust him, and they are amazed, believing their nephew would never lie and has a promising future. Later that night, he sits on the rooftop, reflecting that his registration fee and rent are now covered. He is relieved that his aunt's medical expenses are no longer an immediate worry. He credits the system for turning his danger into safety but notes that his other attributes have not changed yet. He investigates his martial value, which sits at 67. A notification informs him that he obtained these points by defeating a higher-level opponent and that they can be used to increase vitality and martial skills. He tries to use it and begins placing points into his vitality until it reaches 90. Suddenly, he feels his body overflowing with an incredible aura and realizes he has reached the level of a quasi-martial artist with 90 vitality. He decides to dump all remaining points into his vitality stat. Afterward, he notes that his physical strength has improved significantly and his wounds have fully healed. Feeling endless strength, he decides to find a place to test his current power. He heads to the Star City #1 High School outdoor drill ground to use a Tier 1 combat power tester. He prepares to use 70% of his strength for the first punch. He concentrates his energy and strikes the machine, but he breaks into a cold sweat when the device shatters from the impact. Su-hong worries that he might have to pay for the damage and flees like a madman when someone nearby shouts about the noise. An old man in pajamas arrives at the scene and is horrified to find the smashed tester. He fumes with rage, assuming the culprits are Chen Shan and Li Tu, since only those two little brats are capable of doing this in the school. He screams, promising to educate them properly once school begins. The next day, a large group of students gathers in the gymnasium of Star City #1 High School. At the back, Su-hong asks his friend why Chen Shan appears to have been beaten up. His friend whispers that the principal discovered Chen Shan broke the outdoor training grounds tester. Since Chen Shan refused to admit to the deed, the principal punished him, though Su-hong realizes the other student took the blame for his actions. The principal calls for silence and introduces his old comrade-in-arms, Chen Tian, who is a Tier 3 martial artist. He announces that the guest will teach everyone the Thunder Rush Fist, which is a C-rank technique. The students celebrate, as this is their first time seeing a Tier 3 martial artist, and such techniques usually cost hundreds of thousands in tuition at private dojos. Su-hong remembers how this is the same move White Fox used during their battle, noting its incredible power. He realizes he must seize this rare opportunity to learn the skill for free, since if one wanted to learn this kind of C-rank martial art outside, the registration fee alone would be at least several hundred thousand. Chen Tian warns the class that he will demonstrate the technique from start to finish 10 times, and how much they learn depends entirely on their own efforts. He takes his stance and throws a punch to demonstrate, explaining that at the basic level, a punch will emit a sound of thunder. At the proficient level, a punch emits 3 sounds of thunder while the micro-level produces 5 sounds. He concludes by showing his current realm, the mastered level, which produces 7 sounds. He explains that reaching the perfect realm allows for 9 sounds, but tells the students not to be overly ambitious, since reaching basic today would be a success. The students begin their practice, and several hours later, they are completely exhausted with almost no progress. Su-hong's friend groans that he cannot learn it at all because C-rank martial arts are too difficult. He asks Su-hong if he managed to learn it, but notices his friend has suddenly vanished from the gym. Meanwhile, Chen Shan successfully reaches the basic level, causing his peers to wonder how his brain is built to belong to such a genius. The principal points out Chen Shan to Chen Tian, calling him the school's #1 genius and asking if the warrior is interested in guiding him. Chen Tian finds the suggestion amusing, noting that in other cities, this level of talent is only considered average. Later, the two men walk outside, and Chen Tian complains that he wasted his time because the batch of students is too weak. The principal argues that having even one student reach basic is good enough and asks if he was expecting to find a top-tier genius there. Chen Tian says that martial Dao cultivation is extremely cruel, and talent is simply too important, while the principal agrees that relying only on hard work without opportunity is impossible. Their conversation is interrupted when they hear a sound and they see Su-hong standing nearby, his body crackling with intense electricity. Chen Tian shouts in shock, recognizing the 7-sound Thunder Rush Fist, and wondering how an expert of that level is at the school. While the principal insists it is impossible as he has never heard of such a specialist, but points out the boy is wearing a student's uniform. Chen Tian is baffled that a student reached the mastered level after only half a day of instruction. Our boy throws a punch, and the principal panics as he hears 9 distinct sounds of thunder. Chen Tian becomes extremely excited, realizing he has just witnessed the perfect realm. He gathers energy in his own fist and performs the technique again, successfully producing 8 sounds. He declares that the student's 9-sound Thunder Rush Fist gave him the inspiration he needed to finally break through his own limits. The two run toward the student to see who he is, but by the time they arrive, Su-hong has already gone. Already far away, he thinks about how exhausting it is to cultivate a C-rank martial skill compared to the D-rank Vajra Fist. He checks his system and sees that his Thunder Rush Fist has reached the perfect level. He considers how he can earn more martial value to break through to the martial artist rank, wondering if normal sparring will be enough, or if he needs to engage in life-and-death battles. Sometime later, he arrives at his workplace, the Raging Thunder Dojo, Inside, he finds several martial artists training with spears. A fellow martial artist asks why he came in today, and Su-hong replies that he just wanted to practice a little. He notices a purple-haired boy defeating another trainee. And the purple-haired boy says, "You dare to say my teacher teaches badly. If your comprehension is poor, admit it. Why make excuses here?" Su asks what is going on, and a guy explains that Li Yan's teacher is a newly arrived instructor who is very strong but despises commoners like them and teaches carelessly. Li Yan, his disciple, is also very powerful and arrogant. Li Yan prepares to strike a defenseless opponent, but Su-hong intervenes by grabbing his arm and telling him to stop. Irritated, Li Yan challenges him to a fight in the ring. He agrees, but the instructor enters the room and orders the class to begin. Li Yan turns around, saying the boy's luck is good, and Su-hong thinks that this person is a bit too arrogant. The instructor announces that today is the last day he will teach the Raging Sea Spear technique, and he will only perform it once. He takes a stance and thinks to himself that demonstrating it once is enough, since he believes the students are trash who cannot learn it anyway. Su-hong watches with focus, realizing that the core of the technique involves a momentum like endless giant waves. After the brief demonstration, the instructor leaves the students to practice on their own. The students are furious at the lack of instruction, but Su-hong focuses and begins performing the movements perfectly. As he moves his spear, a water-like aura flows with it. As he continues, the others are amazed, calling him a prodigy. They wonder if they are really too stupid to learn it. Because of this noise, Li Yan returns, asking why they are making noise and who learned it. He is surprised to see Su-hong has actually learned the spear technique. Li Yan thinks that he needs to find the boy's depth, as it would be interesting if he is really a genius. He offers to give him some pointers. Su agrees, so Li Yan holds his spear and every other guy moves back. One warns Su-hong not to be impulsive since Li Yan is very strong despite his bad character, and Su tells him not to worry. He prepares himself, saying, "Please enlighten me." Li Yan attacks using the micro-level of the Raging Sea Spear technique. Su takes a deep breath and counters, activating the Raging Sea Spear technique at the proficient level. Li Yan is stunned, unable to understand how a beginner could have reached that level of mastery so quickly. As Su-hong attacks and the two strikes collide in a powerful clash, Li Yan cannot understand how someone who is not even a martial artist can reach the proficient level in this technique so quickly. Our boy sees an opening and manages to knock the spear out of his opponent's hands with a swift movement. A system notification appears, informing him that he gained 35 martial value points for defeating a higher-level opponent, as he finally understands that ordinary sparring also yields points and considers finding more people to spar with in the future. Li Yan falls to his knees, thinking it is absolutely impossible for someone to cultivate the Raging Sea Spear technique to the proficient realm so rapidly. He questions all his years of training, wondering what his hard work counts for if he can be surpassed so easily. Still furious, he leaps up to attack because he feels humiliated and useless. Before he can strike Su-hong, his master shouts for him to stop. The teacher approaches and delivers a sharp slap to Li Yan's face, telling his disciple that if he does not dare to face failure, then he is not even a martial artist. The instructor reflects on how Su-hong learned the Raging Sea Spear technique to the proficient realm after watching only one demonstration, considering that even the geniuses in the Magic City or Imperial Capital are not exaggerated to this extent. Since he knows that Li Yan has talent but is far too arrogant, he believes that being struck by this kind of genius is a good thing for the boy. The teacher bows slightly toward Su-hong and asks for forgiveness, blaming his own lack of strict discipline. Su-hong thinks to himself that the man changes his face very quickly. He leaves the dojo shortly after, feeling very exhausted, but he is satisfied with the harvest of martial value and the new skills he learned. He remembers that the school exam is only a few days away, and that wealthy students have already prepared high-end alloy weapons, so he decides he also needs to prepare a weapon for the exam as quickly as possible. Since the long spear felt comfortable during use, he decides he might as well use a spear from now on and looks for an alloy long spear. However, he worries because the little money he has is not even enough to treat his aunt's illness, let alone buy an alloy weapon priced at 69,800 coins. He wonders if there are any other ways to make money, and as he is walking, he sees a news report on a television inside a shop, stating that ferocious beasts are increasing day by day, and the city lord is summoning martial artists to hunt them in exchange for generous rewards. He realizes this is a great opportunity to go out of the city and hunt the monsters. Meanwhile, at his house, the aunt tells her husband there is no logic in him working so desperately since Su-hong gave them a large sum of money. The uncle is aware of this, but does not think it is right to place the entire burden of supporting the family on the boy, so he insists on saving up more family fortune for the children while he can still work. Su-hong arrives at the house and asks his aunt to let him handle the chores. He He tells his uncle not to go out to work anymore since he can earn enough money, wanting his uncle to stay home and take care of the ant. The uncle replies that it sounds nice, but he cannot stay idle. The uncle smiles and gives a thumbs up, telling him not to worry because he is only earning a little money for daily expenses and is not pushing himself. The ant adds that Sue will need to spend a lot of money on martial arts practice in the future, so they want to save wherever possible. Soo-hong reflects that his uncle and aunt are used to living in poverty and will not feel at ease retiring until he earns enough money to last a lifetime. He decides he absolutely cannot let the opportunity to hunt ferocious beasts slip by. Later that night on the rooftop, since he knows the wilderness is dangerous, he uses the system to add all his gained martial value to his vitality for safety. His vitality reaches 95.2, making him only one step away from becoming a martial artist. 2 days later at the school gym, he is exhausted after pushing himself very hard. He has finally managed to bring all his martial skills, including the Thunder Rush Fist, Raging Sea Spear Technique, Vajra Fist, Floating Light Palm, and Void Step to the perfect realm. He feels ready to leave the city and arrives at the martial artist base in Star City, thinking how far away this place is. While walking, he notes that although he has seen it many times on TV, this is his first time coming to the martial artist base. Martial artists, who are normally rare to see, are actually filling the streets. He reads the reward list, noting that non-ranked beasts give 300 blue star coins, Tier 1 initial stage beasts give 1,000, Tier 1 middle stage beasts give 3,000, while Tier 1 high stage beasts give 5,000, and so on. After that, he learns that he must cut off the left ear of a ferocious beast as proof, otherwise the payment will not be settled, and he thinks that this method is quite primitive. He sees a man at the counter with a bag and assumes it must be full of ears. Suddenly, a group arrives and orders everyone to move, announcing that young Master Yi has arrived. Soo-hong becomes intrigued because the man's attire and aura look a bit like White Fox from the underground arena. He overhears people whispering that young Master Yi was beaten up by someone a few days ago and had been hiding ever since. He looks toward the group, and young Master Yi gazes back at him with a smirk. Soo-hong realizes that the danger comes not only from ferocious beasts but also from humans, so he must be careful. He reaches the gate and the guard asks if he is really going into the wilderness alone. Soo gives a brief affirmation and the guard lets him inside. As he walks in, the guard looks at him and sighs, thinking he is just another ignorant and fearless brat. Soo-hong crosses the gate and enters the forest, determined to return fully loaded. 2 hours later, he becomes worried because he has not seen a single beast yet, wondering if they have all been killed off and deciding to look deeper into the forest. As he begins to run, he sees something and stops. A giant wolf appears before him. He recognizes it as a Tier 1 initial stage ferocious beast from his textbooks called a Nether Moon Wolf. The wolf lets out a loud roar and charges toward him. As the wolf is about to attack him, he dodges the attack. He gathers energy in his hand and strikes with the Thunder Rush Fist, which sends the wolf flying violently into a tree and it falls dead on the ground. He comes near it and looks at his hands, which are trembling. He finally feels the sensation of fighting a monster, nodding it is even more exciting than he imagined. He realizes he can now kill a Tier 1 initial stage ferocious beast in a single move, and wonders how he would fare against a Tier 1 middle stage ferocious beast. Just as he considers this, a giant raging black bear appears behind him. He defeats this Tier 1 middle stage ferocious beast with just one punch. He realizes that Tier 1 monsters will no longer be a problem for him, so he simply needs to avoid provoking Tier 2 ferocious beasts to stay out of danger. He cuts the ears of the beast, and notes that he has now secured 3,000 in prize money. At that moment, his system provides a reminder, stating that his accumulated martial value is sufficient to break through to martial artist, and urging him to upgrade as soon as possible. He is happy that he can finally advance in level. Suddenly, he feels an absurd pressure. He wonders what kind of ferocious beast possesses such an intense aura, nodding it must be a beast on another level. He runs to investigate the source and reaches the location. He is startled to find a black jade giant python, which is a Tier 1 late-stage ferocious beast that some warriors are currently fighting. The monster strikes the warriors, throwing them against the rocks. Because Soo-hong is standing on the same rock, the python sees him and the giant python attacks him as well. He manages to dodge the strike by jumping, but the snake moves too fast and hits him with its tail, throwing him far away. Soo-hong coughs up blood and sees a man's body which is cut in half with a spear lying nearby. He wipes his mouth and decides to borrow the spear for a moment. He stands before the serpent. The monster wastes no time and attacks, but Soo-hong dodges while reflecting that killing a monster of this level usually requires the cooperation of several martial artists of a similar level. He knows that while his martial skills have all been cultivated to perfect, allowing him to easily kill a raging black bear, this serpent is a different matter. He jumps onto a tree and uses Void Step at the perfect level to gain height. Only then does he use the Raging Sea Spear technique at the perfect level. He throws the spear and it pierces the monster's body. He runs to retrieve the spear. Once he has it, he gathers energy again and throws his spear one more time, and it pierces the monster's body once more. After that, he runs to get the spear one more time while dodging an attack from the monster. He continues this pattern because he is aware that the difference in their body sizes is too great. He notes it is hard to deal a fatal blow in one hit, so he must weaken it as much as possible first. Just as he thinks that, he is almost struck by another attack but counters with the Thunder Rush Fist. He immediately retreats to widen the distance from the giant python. He must find an opening, launch an attack, and then quickly disengage. He admits that fighting like this is a bit tiring, though the advantage is safety. He notes that the snake also seems to be reaching its limit, and decides he just needs to maneuver around it a few more times to take it down. He tells the beast to keep it coming. Suddenly, he senses something approaching. He turns around and sees that a warrior is trying to attack him. In surprise, Su-hong blocks the incoming attack but is thrown far away. He gets up while coughing and asks who these people are. It is young Master Yi, who laughs and comments that they meet again. He asks Su how about giving this black jade giant python to him as a gift. As the group comes near Su-hong, young Master Yi comments that when he saw Su leaving the city by himself, he was certain he would perish rapidly. He adds that he did not anticipate such high luck, noting that not only did he survive, but he also discovered the black jade giant python while it was seriously wounded. Su-hong realizes what is occurring since the group seems to have just arrived to make such a statement. He becomes concerned because they possess the advantage of numbers, and he feels he cannot confront them directly. As he considers this, the masked man launches another attack. Su-hong becomes annoyed by this action and asks if they truly think he is unable to beat them simply because he was hit by a sneak attack. He also launches an attack and their fists clash, and the brawler finds the frightening power he is experiencing to be unbelievable. Furthermore, he takes a punch directly to the face, which causes him to drop to the floor in an unconscious state. Yifeng remembers the Vajra fist and deduces that the boy was the Minotaur. Su-hong also figures out that the man is the white fox he previously battled in the arena. Yifeng declares that he has never endured such embarrassment before an audience and commands his subordinates to kill him. Su-hong picks up his spear and begins to run, leading the group as they pursue him into the depths of the woods. The swordsman cautions that they have the superior count and should not be afraid of just one person. Suddenly, Su-hong emerges behind him and strikes him with the Thunder Rush Fist, causing the man to pass out from the force of the blow. Yifeng grows anxious because he does not comprehend how someone can move with such speed. The group goes from chasing mode to defensive mode pretty fast, feeling terrified as they hear the sound of the Nine-Echo Thunder Rush Fist. They note that not even a Tier 3 martial artist could execute it to such a perfect realm. Yifeng starts to break into a cold sweat since he has no clue how a teenager possesses both the perfect Vajra Fist and the perfect Thunder Rush Fist. Su-hong observes them from a distance, thinking that if he had not just finished battling the giant python, he could have destroyed them all immediately. He hurls his spear since he needs to create a chance to take them out individually. The weapon impales the ground near the group and they all look at it in shock. And using this diversion, he gets close to one of the men and lands a knee strike on the guy's face, and he falls to the ground unconscious. The final remaining lackey suggests to Yifeng that they should depart because their enemy is too powerful, but Yifeng declines, stating he cannot do such a thing. Su-hong begins to move fast between the trees, but suddenly he appears between both of them and attacks, knocking out the last lackey and vanishing instantly. Yifeng simply cannot grasp how a kid grew so strong in only a few days. Su suddenly appears behind him, but as he turns, Su is gone once again. This time Su tries to attack with the spear, but Yifeng notices him this time and turning around, charges towards Su-hong and uses his void-breaking finger attack. But Su easily dodges that attack and it hits the tree. The blow is so forceful that it shatters a tree, and he continues to fire in every direction, hoping that one of the strikes might land by chance. Su-hong notes this since the power is great and considers that it might be a rank B technique. Yifeng yells out that he has already memorized the kid's face. He warns that if he is harmed, he will definitely slaughter his entire family once he returns. Su-hong becomes enraged upon hearing these words and increases his speed even further. Yifeng starts to mention that his uncle is the supervisor of the martial artist base and his father is. But before he can complete the sentence, Su-hong appears and delivers a punch straight onto Yifeng's face, which sends him through the air like a cannonball. He hits the ground where the snake was previously, and as he tries to get up, Su-hong approaches and says he should not have used his family to threaten him. Yifeng is severely wounded and wonders how someone can be so strong when he is clearly not a martial artist. He screams asking, "Who exactly are you? and while he is speaking, the black jade giant python emerges behind him and finishes him off with its tail. It then hisses loudly, and Su-hong realizes he engaged in combat for too long, allowing the monster to recover its stamina. The group of lackeys finally regains consciousness, realizing that the teen they fought is bizarrely strong. They wonder where their young master has gone and if he managed to finish off the brat. Suddenly, they notice Su-hong running toward them. They prepare for a fight, but he screams at them to move. Behind him, the black jade giant python is charging in their direction. Two warriors fail to move in time, and the serpent devours them instantly. A system notification appears, informing him that because he indirectly killed two martial artists, he has gained 60 martial value points. The same fate befalls the swordsman as the monster kills him, granting Su-hong another 30 points for the indirect death. He is surprised, reflecting that he had no idea it was possible to earn points in such a manner. The snake prepares to strike him next, but he leaps into the air using his void step. He has accumulated enough points to become a martial artist and knows that if he could find a safe place to break through, it would be perfect. Just then, he spots a cave right ahead. He runs into the entrance, and the monster crashes into the rocks, unable to follow because the opening is far too small. Once inside, he sees that the snake is persistently trying to force its way in. He quickly opens his system and begins spending his martial value points as fast as he can. As his vitality increases, his entire body feels incredibly hot, as if lava is flowing through his veins. His vitality reaches 100, and a notification announces his breakthrough to Tier 1 martial artist. Su-hong feels an intense power overflowing from his body now that he has become a real martial artist. He looks toward the snake, declaring that it is now his turn to attack. He moves to attack and lands a hit on the stuck monster, sending it flying, but he is not done yet. Su-hong jumps and tries to use his Vajra fist, but the monster was smart and used its tail to attack from behind. Su blocks it, but the power of that attack is strong and still manages to injure him a little. Su-hong firmly grips his spear and hurls it against the monster's body. He then prepares his Thunder Rush fist and punches the serpent's head, smashing it violently against the ground. As the dust dissipates, he stands over the corpse, nodding that he gained 92 martial value points for the kill. He reflects that hunting ferocious beasts requires cutting off the left ear for payment, but he wonders what to do since snakes do not have ears. Seeing no better option, he decides to leave. On his way back, he finds the lifeless body of Yifeng. He thinks that the way the young man ended up was actually easy compared to the threat he made against his family. He decides to search the body to see if he can find something useful and discovers a manual for the B-rank martial skill, Void Breaking Finger. At night, he returns to the cave and blocks the entrance with stones. He concentrates on the manual, having already memorized the entire introductory method. He enters his mental space through the system to master it quickly. A clone emerges and immediately attacks using the technique. Su-hong dodges and begins practicing the ability to improve his progress, which quickly reaches 93%. However, as he practices, the clone's attack goes straight through his head and he leaves the system space. He realizes that even in the basic realm, the technique brings enormous pressure. He decides he needs to find a monster to test its power. 3 days later, while hunting ferocious beasts, he uses the void-breaking finger and kills a beast easily. He finally reaches the perfect realm and thinks that this power is truly worthy of a B-rank martial skill. After that, Su-hong returns to the martial artist base. The people around are in shock, unable to believe the size of his harvest, which totals 406,000 blue star coins. He worries that he may have killed too many beasts and drawn too much conspicuous attention to himself. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the base. Su-hong and the others wonder if the base is under attack, as it seems impossible for such a place to be targeted. The person in charge of the base, Yi-chi, arrives. He is Yifeng's uncle and is radiating an aura. He orders his men to blockade the base and not let a single person escape. The staff asks the supervisor what has happened. Yi-chi shouts that his nephew Yifeng and the 4 martial artists with him are all dead. The crowd is stunned that a group of 5 was wiped out. Some warriors celebrate silently, knowing that Yifeng was a scourge who robbed others because of his family connections. Yi-chi announces that a B-rank martial skill on Yifeng's body is missing, and demands that everyone be body searched to eliminate suspects. Su-hong realizes that the corpses were killed by the giant python, so the death should not be traced back to him. However, he notices a woman come near Yi-chi and tell him something, and Yi-chi looks at Su after hearing that. Su-hong thinks that they are targeting him. Yi-chi walks toward him and comments that he heard the little brother killed ferocious beasts worth 400,000 alone, stating that his skills are amazing. The woman from before, standing behind the supervisor, says that she sees Su-hong as at most a Tier 1 initial stage martial artist, and wonders how he could kill so many monsters. She declares that he must have picked up Yifeng's backpack and orders the guards to search him immediately. The guards walk toward him, telling the kid not to resist or they won't be polite. As they move in, Su points the tip of a spear at their faces. The men are stunned, realizing they could not see the boy's spear speed clearly at all. Su-hong asks what they are doing and announces that he is a student of Star City No. 1 High School, questioning if they are really going to search him. Yi-chi reflects that the principal of No. 1 High has always been protective of his students and is not someone to mess with, but the kid is highly suspicious. He considers that if the boy really could hunt and kill so many ferocious beasts on his own, he is definitely a genius. If they make a mistake and offend him, the loss would outweigh the gain. He tells Su-hong that his nephew was attacked and their family martial arts technique was stolen, stating that he must find the culprit and hopes the boy will cooperate. Su-hong replies that he hopes Yi-chi does not falsely accuse a good person. The supervisor offers 10,000 coins as compensation for the search. Su-hong demands 30,000 instead. He thinks that Yi Feng was killed by the giant python, and as long as they don't find the martial arts technique, they can't trace the death back to him. Yi-chi agrees to the deal. As Yi-chi's people search Su-hong, he tells them to search carefully, wanting to be sure they are not falsely accusing him, but they find nothing. Yi-chi orders his men to give the boy 30,000 and let him go. Su-hong walks away, thinking it is a good thing he cleaned up the void-breaking finger manual, otherwise today would have been trouble. Yi-chi orders his men to continue searching until everyone is cleared, stating no one is allowed to leave. Su decides to first go take a shower and change his clothes before going to the Martial Artist Association for his assessment and registration, as he needs to get the guidance technique as soon as possible. Later, he sits in a hotel room, nodding he has 534 martial value. He reflects that for the past few days he was focused on cultivating the void-breaking finger and hunting ferocious beasts, so he didn't even get around to using the points. His status window shows his vitality at 103, spirit at 23, and physique mortal body at 6%. He notes that a Tier 1 initial stage martial artist requires 100 vitality points, while a Tier 1 middle stage requires 200. He realizes that if he uses all the martial value to increase vitality, he can increase it by 53.4, leaving him only 40 points away from the middle stage. However, he sees that spirit and mortal body have not been upgraded yet and wonders what effects they have. Since he has lots of martial value now, he decides to see the effect of it. He begins by adding points to spirit, but after increasing it, he doesn't seem to feel any change. Next, he adds points to his mortal body and the strength increase is very obvious. He decides to add a bit more. His vitality reaches 123, spirit is at 26.5, and his mortal body is at 36.1%. He decides to stop the mortal body and add 200 martial value points to vitality and the remaining points to spirit. He suddenly feels as if there is endless power within his body, and his muscles grow colossally. He gradually recovers to his normal shape and feels relieved, thinking that if he kept looking like a muscle man, he wouldn't dare imagine how to explain it to people he knows. 1 hour later, he arrives at the Star City Martial Artist Association and tells the receptionist he is there to participate in the martial artist assessment. She tells him a staff member will take him immediately. The lady notes that he is very young and asks if it is his first time coming for an assessment. She explains that for a Tier 1 martial artist, if the vitality value reaches 100 and the combat power score exceeds 1000, it counts as a pass. Other candidates whisper about him, wondering if the kid came alone without a master. They assume that coming to participate at this age means he probably just wants to try it out. Su-hong watches as an assessor announces that Fan Jia has 102 vitality points but a combat power of 992, meaning the assessment failed. Next, Li Ming comes out of the machine showing 105 vitality points and passing the first stage. Li Ming moves to the combat power test where he strikes the machine. His score is 1763 and he passes. People comment that his power is almost catching up to a Tier 1 middle stage martial artist. They note he is a disciple of Jiang Ming from the Raging Thunder Dojo and is even using the Thunder Rush Fist. Su-hong realizes Jiang Ming is the instructor he met previously and wonders how many disciples the man actually has since Li Yan is also his student. Li Ming tells Su-hong it is his turn. As Su enters the machine, Li Ming thinks that he came for the assessment at this age because he is a genius and asks if the boy can compare with him. After some time, people begin to shout, "Wait, is this vitality detector broken? How is his vitality so high?" The assessor announces that Su-hong's vitality is 123 points and he has passed. Li Ming is shocked by this. He tries to tell himself that high vitality is useless and that combat power is everything. Su-hong prepares for his combat power test, thinking that since he advanced to martial artist and upgraded his physique, his strength has increased greatly. He considers that 40% strength should be enough, but worries that if he hits too lightly and the combat power isn't qualified, he will have a problem. He decides to use 50% strength just to be safe. He strikes the machine, sending the detector flying through the air until it crashes and explodes against a wall. Li Ming and the others cannot believe he sent the detector flying with one punch, noting the strength is too terrifying. They realize he didn't even seem to use any martial skills. The score on the broken machine shows 3004. People are dumbfounded, noting that the combat power standard for a Tier 1 high-stage martial artist is only 3,000 points. A staff member watching all this from afar tells his teacher that the kid is back and is simply monstrous. The man, recognizing the boy, says it is no wonder. Meanwhile, in her office, the Star City Martial Dao Association president, Wu Lingxian, is annoyed. She sees on her phone that the neighboring Yang City branch produced another genius who is showing off. She worries that if Star City doesn't produce geniuses, her position is coming to an end. Suddenly, an employee bursts in, shouting that a monster has appeared at the martial artist assessment. He explains that at Tier 1 initial stage, martial artist reached 3,000 points and sent the testing machine flying with one punch, relying solely on physical body strength. Wu Lingxian is startled by the news. Inside the central hall of the Martial Artist Association, an employee tells Su Hong that he will escort him to the second floor. He explains that they need to register his martial artist identity first and then collect his monthly allowance. Su thanks him for the help, but a woman suddenly appears and declares that she will handle the kid personally. The employee is shocked, realizing that the president of the association is stepping in. Wu Lingxian introduces herself to Su Hong and asks him to follow her. He agrees and reflects on her reputation, mentally nodding that she is the president of the Star City Martial Artist Association. Rumor has it she is a Tier 5 martial artist, though she looks different than he imagined. They arrive at the president's office, where she asks if he is a student at Star City No. 1 High School. She mentions that the principal, old boy Li Chengshan, was complaining to her recently, lamenting that the school only produced 2 ordinary Tier 1 martial artists this year, yet it turns out they were hiding such a big genius. Su Hong asks why she brought him to her office and states that he only came to register his martial artist ID and collect the monthly allowance and guidance technique. Wu Lingxian tells him not to worry, explaining that she already had people handle his registration and allowance. As for the guidance technique, she will teach him personally, asking how much he currently understands about guidance techniques. Su Hong reflects on his studies, nodding that the textbook says heaven and earth spiritual qi has attributes. He explains that the guidance technique is a method to absorb this qi to strengthen one's body, and absorbing different attributes requires a corresponding guidance technique. She tells him the textbook is not wrong, but clarifies that guidance techniques are not just cultivation methods. She uses her own heavenly flame guidance technique as an example, explaining that she mainly absorbs fire attribute spiritual qi. She demonstrates by igniting her hand, explaining that while it strengthens the body, it also gives her attacks fire attribute lethality. Achieving external release of attribute attacks can increase attack distance, and she notes that for a Tier 1 martial artist, even wrapping a fraction of the attribute around a fist is considered very good. Su Hong is surprised, as he thought guidance techniques were only for cultivation. The textbooks never taught that these techniques could be used for attacks. Wu Lingxian explains that heaven and earth spiritual qi has 7 attributes: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, and wind. She states that while every attribute has strengths and weaknesses, thunder is first in terms of pure attack power, metal is second, and fire is third. However, she clarifies that the specific technique he can cultivate depends on his compatibility. Su Hong realizes that he cannot simply cultivate whatever guidance technique he wants. She lifts a crystal ball, explaining it is for testing compatibility. The larger the glowing area, the higher the compatibility. Ordinary martial artists usually have 20 to 30% compatibility, while she is around 80%, which is considered very high. She believes a genius like him will definitely exceed 90%. He takes the ball, thinking that since she is a Tier 5 martial artist at such a young age, she is an absolute genius even at 80%. He considers that reaching 90% would be too exaggerated. Suddenly, the crystal ball emits an intense light that fills the room. Wu Lingxian is stunned and shouts that he has 100% fire attribute compatibility. She asks if he knows what this means, and Su Hong admits that he does not. She explains that he can absorb 100% of fire attribute spiritual qi without leaking a trace. She compares this to her own 80% compatibility, where she loses 20% during absorption. Despite that loss, she still became a Tier 5 martial artist and the association president. She says that the boy's future achievements will be higher than hers, as she did not expect Star City to produce a monster no weaker than those in the Imperial Capital region. Su Hong thinks that fire attribute is nice, but he would prefer thunder. As he wishes for it, the ball begins to crackle with electricity. He notes that his thunder attribute compatibility seems to be 100% as well. Wu Lingxian is speechless, wondering if this is real or fake. She thinks that he is a monster for having 100% compatibility in both fire and thunder. But Su Hong interrupts her thoughts, saying his wind attribute also seems to be 100% too. Lingxian is outraged by how ridiculous this is. A few minutes later, she sits quietly on her sofa trying to process the situation. She thinks she must be dreaming because he had 100% in all attributes. She reflects on how she used to consider herself a top-tier genius, as a 30-year-old Tier 5 martial artist is as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. However, facing an opponent beyond common sense makes her feel like an ordinary person. She realizes that to defeat an existence beyond common sense, only those equally beyond common sense are necessary. She looks at Su Hong and considers that ordinary people cannot understand such existences. He thinks about how cultivating only thunder would be a waste if all 7 attributes are at 100%. He asks Wu Lingxian if she can give him a copy of the guidance techniques for all 7 attributes. She remains silent for a moment before explaining that human energy is limited. She advises that no matter how high his talent is, it is best to cultivate only 1 or 2. She mentions that in the past, someone tried to cultivate 7 techniques at once and was still only a Tier 1 martial artist after decades. Su Hong tells her he cannot make a decision right now and wants to try cultivating them all first to decide which specific one to follow later. She agrees, but warns him not to mess around and waste his talent in vain. Wu Lingxian then mentions that the school's monthly exam is coming soon. Su Hong asks why she is concerned about that. She explains that friction in the All Heavens battlefield is intensifying, and a war of 10,000 races could erupt at any moment. She tells him nations are investing resources into a genius training camp, and she wants to recommend him for it. She promises that if he takes first place in the school monthly exam, she can give him a recommendation spot. Su reflects on the war of 10,000 races, recalling that he lost all his relatives except his uncle and aunt during that war over a decade ago. He promises to work hard. He will never let that tragedy happen again and vows to become strong to protect everyone around him. Later, Su Hong returns home and announces to his uncle and aunt that he has officially become a martial artist. They see his card and are emotional and proud of his success. He explains that a Tier 1 martial artist gets a 10,000 allowance per month, so his uncle does not have to work so desperately anymore. His uncle is overjoyed and declares that little Hong is now the pillar of the family, promising to listen to whatever he says. Su looks at them and thinks that they do not have to worry, as he will hold up the family from now on. Late that night, he cultivates as aura swirls around him. After some time, he opens his eyes and tests a punch that crackles with fire, but the flame quickly smokes out. He wonders if this is only the basic level since it seems to have no power at all. He checks his system and sees a new guidance technique column. It shows Heavenly Flame Guidance Technique at LV1 with 5% progress. He notes that Wu Lingxian did not mention that guidance techniques had levels, thinking she definitely would have told him if they did. Could it be that only he can level up this guidance technique? Su Hong attempts to figure out how to increase the level of his guidance techniques and wonders if he can use his martial value for this purpose. However, the system issues a warning about having insufficient martial value, leading him to realize he must find another way to earn points later. He decides it is better to prioritize cultivating the rest of the guidance techniques first. Several hours later, he has successfully unlocked the first level of the Thunder Guidance Technique, Water Marsh Guidance Technique, Thick Earth Guidance Technique, and Spirit Wind Guidance Technique. He notices that all 7 different attributes of spiritual qi are repelling each other within his body. He reflects on President Wu's words about the genius who tried this before and remained a Tier 1 martial artist for decades. Su Hong understands that although all 7 types of spiritual qi exist in his body, he can only use one attribute at a time. If he forcibly uses a second attribute, the two will clash violently and eventually dissipate. However, he considers that since the natures of thunder and fire are relatively close, they might be able to fuse together. Despite the power becoming unstable, he continues his attempts throughout the night. By dawn the next day, he pushes himself just a little bit more and finally succeeds in achieving a fusion. He feels relieved as it took the entire night to accomplish this, and he decides his next step is to go out and test this power. He heads to the Star City Citizen Martial Arts Square to test his new ability. He specifically chooses a Tier 3 combat power tester to ensure he does not break it this time. He decides to use only 30% of his strength, recalling that 50% strength previously produced a score of 3,000. He is surprised to see the meter exceed 2,300, noting that it should have been around 1,800, meaning his single power of thunder has increased his output by 500 points. He wonders what the fused power of thunder and fire will look like and delivers another blow to the machine. The score reaches 3041, which leaves him stunned. He is very happy that by relying purely on his physical body and the fused Thunderfire energy, 30% of his strength already surpasses a Tier 1 high-stage martial artist. Considering his vitality is only 123 points, he finds this power to be terrifying. He begins to imagine what the power would look like if he could fuse all 7 attributes. Driven by this thought, he decides to return home to attempt a 3-attribute fusion. After several attempts, Su-hong falls to the floor in exhaustion. He notes that the difficulty of fusing 3 attributes is significantly higher, as he arranged and combined the 7 attributes many times without making any progress. He wonders if raising the level of the guidance techniques themselves can help him fuse them successfully. Since the monthly exam is tomorrow, he should focus on earning as much martial value as possible. The next day at Star City No. 1 High School, the students gather as the principal announces that this monthly exam is different from before. He explains that because the situation at the front lines is tense, a training camp will be held every year to select geniuses for concentrated training. He tells them that the camp has abundant resources, including Tier 7 Grandmaster instructors and plenty of martial arts and pills. He declares that the top 3 students in this monthly exam will be able to participate in the training camp organized by Star City. The students are thrilled at the mention of the Genius Training Camp, especially since a Grandmaster instructor is at Tier 7, while their own principal is only at Tier 3. Su-hong finds it amusing because Wu Lingxian promised him a spot for finishing first, yet it seems the top 3 will receive spots regardless. His friend approaches him and worries that they have no chance because Chen Shan and Li Tu have both become Tier 1 martial artists, and many others have reached the basic level in the Thunder Rush Fist. Su-hong mentions that he hasn't been to school for just 10 days and is surprised these students broke through so quickly. The boy explains that the principal brought in Chen Tian to give private lessons to talented students, helping their vitality break 100 a few days ago. He adds that Chen Shan and Li Tu can already produce 3 echoes with their Thunder Rush Fist. The 2 rival geniuses joke together about showing everyone who the true No. 1 genius is. Chen Tian asks the principal if he has found the genius with the 9-echo Thunder Rush Fist yet. The principal replies that he has searched everywhere and doubts the person is a student of their school. Suddenly, Jiang Ming arrives with 2 disciples and asks old Li why he looks so troubled. He comments that the quality of students this year is not great and suggests that after the exam ends, the first-place student should come over for a spar with his disciples. The principal is irritated, realizing Jiang Ming is here to embarrass him, but he knows that refusing would be admitting there isn't a single presentable talent in the school. Jiang Ming mockingly says he can understand if the principal wants to refuse due to the poor quality of his students. Chen Tian interrupts and asks if the man is looking for trouble on purpose. At that moment, Li Yan points toward the crowd and alerts his teacher to the presence of Su-hong. Jiang Ming is shocked to see the little monster is actually from No. 1 High School. He breaks into a sweat, realizing that if Li Yan and Li Ming meet Su-hong, they definitely cannot win. Fearing he will be the one losing face, Jiang Ming suddenly claims he was joking and says his 2 trash disciples could never compare to the principal's students. The 2 disciples quickly agree and announce their concession. But the principal and Chen Tian are left furious, feeling they are being mocked with sarcasm. Later in the arena, the match between No. 665 Chen Peng and No. 666 Su-hong is announced. Teacher Li advises him not to force it since getting injured isn't worth it. Chen Peng tells Su-hong to go down himself or prepare to be beaten down. However, Su-hong moves with incredible speed and slams Chen Peng's head into the ground, instantly winning the match. Teacher Li and his friend are completely dumbfounded, unable to believe he has become fierce enough to insta-defeat a quasi-martial artist in one move. Su continues winning his matches one after another, and his classmate wonders how he is so strong, asking if he could already be a Tier 1 martial artist. The instructor Chen Tian asks where Su-hong popped out from and wonders why the boy was not there when he was giving private tutoring, while the principal Li Changshan reflects that this is all a total dereliction of his duty. He wonders how he did not discover this good seedling before and realizes that by not prioritizing Su-hong's nurturing earlier, he has buried a talent. Meanwhile, Chen Tian feels as if he has seen the kid somewhere before, but he realizes he cannot recall where. The principal notes that the semifinal between Chen Shan and Li Tu should be deciding a winner soon. Their strength is similar, so it is hard to say who will win or lose, as Chen Shan and Li Tu exchange frantic blows. Li Tu notes that they both have the 3 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist, and tells Chen Shan that if he does not use his ultimate move, he should not dream of beating him. Chen blocks the attack and tells Li Tu to watch closely, declaring that he is the true No. 1 of the school. The crowd is surprised to see Chen Shan performing attribute externalization, noting that he has the fire attribute, which possesses immense power inferior only to thunder. Li Tu is not intimidated and asks who cannot perform attribute externalization. The crowd is shocked again as Li Tu reveals he can also perform externalization, manifesting the metal attribute, which has stronger combat power than the fire attribute. Li Tu announces that he also knows a further secret and unleashes the 5 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist. Chen is shocked and finds himself unable to do anything but receive the blow head-on. The principal is astonished that Li Tu hid his strength so deeply, and Tian agrees, nodding that in just 10 days, Li Tu mastered attribute externalization and reached the micro-level with the Thunder Rush Fist, thinking Li Tu's talent is quite good. The principal thinks there is no need to watch the final, believing it is impossible for Su Hong to beat Li Tu's micro-level Thunder Rush Fist in metal attribute. Chen Tian thinks it is a pity, reflecting that if Su also knew a guidance technique, he might have had a fighting chance. Jiang Ming hears this and addresses the principal and Tian, proposing a bet of 50,000 on Su Hong's victory. The principal asks if Jiang Ming is crazy since Su does not know a guidance technique and has nothing to win with, but he accepts the bet thinking Jiang Ming is delivering money to his door. The final match between number 1 Li Tu and number 666 Su Hong finally begins. Li Tu tells Su that he is very lucky for not meeting him or Chen earlier and suggests the boys sneaked into the finals. Su Hong thinks that after hunting so many ferocious beasts, these students feel too weak, nodding that finally someone worth looking at has arrived. Li Tu tells Su that since he made it to the finals, he can claim to be number 2 in the whole school. Su asks who the number 1 is, and Li Tu declares that it is naturally him. He charges forward, intending to use only one move to make Su Hong understand how big the gap between them is. He uses his 5 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist right from the start, causing the students to wonder if he is being serious and believe the fight is over since Su is bound to lose. Our boy prepares himself and charges forward, thinking he just wanted to see where the limits of his physical body lie. The audience wonders if Su is crazy for not dodging and raising his fists to meet the attack head-on, even calling for the referee to save him. However, Su Hong neutralizes the 5 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist instantly with 5 punches, and he only uses his physical strength. Li Tu is stunned, unable to believe what just happened. They continue exchanging blows. Li Tu wonders if Su Hong is a monster because every punch he receives is so heavy. The crowd is surprised that Su is evenly matched with Li Tu's 5 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist, without even employing any martial skills, thinking Su's strength is too terrifying. Chen Tian suggests that the Su boy must possess some kind of special physique, otherwise his strength wouldn't be this exaggerated, while the principal celebrates that his school finally produced a genius with a special physique. Chen Tian notes that although Su's strength is astonishing, Li Tu has already condensed an attribute, meaning Su still has no advantage to speak of. Li Tu was sent back after their clash. He gathers his power and tells Su not to be arrogant, declaring that the winner can only be him. He demands that Su accept defeat and charges at him once more. Su Hong reflects that he originally wanted to see to what extent he could fight Li Tu using only his physical body, but realizes the boy could not hold back so quickly and has completely erupted. He decides he must also show some respect, and advances while manifesting his thunder attribute. Li Tu is shocked to see that Su Hong can also use attribute externalization. The principal and Chen Tian are left speechless, realizing that he has also mastered the thunder guidance technique. Tian thinks a special physique plus the thunder attribute makes Su Hong's talent truly terrifying. As both of their attacks collide, Li Tu realizes that Su Hong's thunder attribute is even stronger than his own metal attribute. Su tells him that since the boy showed his ultimate move, he will show his ultimate move as well. He attacks with the 9 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist, sending his opponent Li flying. Li Tu is left unable to believe how this is possible, and he falls to the ground defeated. The crowd is in shock for a moment before they begin to celebrate, realizing Su Hong's Thunder Rush Fist reached the perfect realm for real. Chen Tian wonders if Su is the genius that disappeared from the school that day, nodding his Thunder Rush Fist, while the principal says the boy is not just a genius, but the dragon of Star City No. 1 High School. Tian wonders about how much of a blow the geniuses from prominent backgrounds will suffer when this monster arrives at the training camp. He reflects that once a golden carp meets the wind and cloud, it transforms into a dragon, believing that to Su Hong, Star City is nothing more than a small puddle. The principal agrees, nodding that the boy is inevitably a dragon rising from the abyss, destined to soar into the sky. He believes this monster will bloom his radiance in the imperial capital and even on the battlefield of 10,000 races. Late in the afternoon, Su Hong returns to his house and announces to his family that he is back. His uncle asks how the monthly exam went today. Su Hong chuckles and declares that he secured first place. His uncle is happy to hear this, nodding that now Su can go to the genius training camp he mentioned before. Suddenly, there is a loud knocking at the door. A woman outside shouts, demanding to know if this is Su Hong's house. He opens the door and asks who she is. The woman identifies herself as Lin Nyan's parent from his school, and explains that while the top 3 in the monthly exam can go to the training camp, since her son ranked 4th, she wants to discuss Su Hong giving up his spot, offering him 30,000 blue star coins to let Lin Nyan go instead. Su and his family look on in disbelief at her absurd request. The woman becomes furious at their reaction, shouting that this training camp was established to nurture geniuses who can enter the all-heavens battlefield in the future, warning that the competition is extremely cruel and people could actually die. She claims that those inside eat high-grade pills until they are sick and practice high-tier martial skills as they please, telling him that with his family conditions, giving up early is for his own good. His aunt becomes worried and asks Su if it is really as dangerous as she says. But his uncle tells his wife to calm down and asks Su if he can guarantee his own safety. Su Hong looks at him without hesitation and declares that he can. The woman scoffs, asking if they actually believe a child's guarantee. However, his uncle tells her that he obviously believes it, nodding Su has grown up and this is his own decision, so he asks the woman to leave. After he closes the door in her face, she yells that they should just wait to be eliminated from the training camp. Su Hong asks his uncle if he intentionally kept the danger a secret, but his uncle replies that it is fine. He notes that he is a rough man and Su is more educated and understands the training better than he does, so he promises to support him since Su has the resolve to face the difficulties. His aunt finds their talk funny and tells them not to get too excited, as she only wants Su to guarantee his safety. Su Hong smiles and promises her that he will. Later that night, he stands on the rooftop and reflects that his uncle and aunt must still be worrying about him secretly. He vows to never let down their expectations and decides he must become stronger to protect his hard-earned life. He opens his system and notes that he fought over a dozen matches in the monthly exam, gaining a total of 285 martial value points, but he realizes this is not enough, as he does not know what high-level martial skills or trump cards the geniuses in the training camp possess. To fight against them, he decides to prioritize improving his physical combat power. He begins adding points to his mortal body attribute until it reaches 64.6%, wondering what special physique will come after it reaches 100%. He then notices that his Thunder Guidance Technique and Heavenly Flame Guidance Technique have both reached LV2. He finds this strange since he only cultivated them for a few days and wonders if normal cultivation allows them to level up without extra conditions. He decides to strive to level them up once more. The next day at dawn, Su Hong opens his eyes and sees that both techniques have reached LV3. He notes that his vitality also grew by 3 points, reaching 126. As he prepares to leave, his aunt tells him to pay attention to safety and to just come home if things don't work out. His uncle tells him to ignore such depressing words and encourages Su to bring back another first place. Su Hong says goodbye and walks away. As Su leaves, his aunt looks at her husband, nodding that he is just as worried as she is despite acting tough. He admits he is only acting this way because he is afraid Su will worry. Su Hong walks down the street until a red car drifts on the road and stops before him. President Wu is behind the wheel and tells him to get in. As they drive on the highway, he asks what she needs from him. Wu explains that she wants to remind him of a few things regarding the training camp, stating that as the president of the Martial Dao Association, she knows the profiles of some participants. She warns that among the martial artists, there are a few monsters who are already Tier 1 high stage and aren't far from becoming Tier 2 martial artists, and a few of them even possess martial skills that are at least B rank at the lowest. Su Hong reflects that a Tier 2 martial artist requires 200 points of vitality. In this batch, there are actually people not far from being Tier 2 martial artists. However, he thinks that he is not afraid of B rank skills since he can quickly learn them with his system space. Wu tells him that bar none, his talent is the strongest she has ever seen, but acknowledges he lacks the same resources as the others. She encourages him, stating that even if he faces setbacks, surpassing them is inevitable. He thanks her, addressing her as Sister Wu. She looks at him and notes that despite knowing his vitality and skills are inferior to the others, Su Hong remains very calm. She realizes she does not need to worry about his mental state causing problems. The scene shifts to the Tianlin mountain range. Inside the car, Su and others are sitting together. Two boys are startled to learn their destination, as it is a place where many ferocious beasts gather. The principal tells them not to worry, explaining that the training camp is overseen by a grandmaster, meaning there is usually no life-threatening danger. Su Hong reflects on the Tianlin mountain range, nodding it is a massive area spanning multiple cities, including Star City and Yang City. He thinks about how the spiritual energy there is dense and ferocious beasts are numerous, with beast kings present that are comparable to Tier 7 grandmasters. The competition among the ferocious beasts in this range is extremely cruel. He considers that even a Tier 1 ferocious beast from the outer periphery is far more ferocious than those found elsewhere, to the point that normal Tier 2 martial artists would not dare to tread there easily. As the car continues into the forest, monsters watch them from the woods. The students feel as if something is staring at them, and they wonder if a ferocious beast might suddenly attack. Su-hong thinks that the training camp competition will probably be just as cruel as the slaughter among the ferocious beasts, and for some reason he is starting to like that feeling. After some time, they arrive at the camp. Li Tu wonders how strong the people present are. The warriors at the site stare at them, leaving Li Tu and Chen Shan completely silent, but Su remains confident and tells them, "Let's go." As they walk, a staff member stops them and tells them to wait for everyone to arrive before the camp entrance assessment begins. Su is confused that there is even an entrance assessment. Suddenly, someone announces that the big families have arrived, and they all look back as several cars pull up to the site. The young masters of big families start coming out of them. The crowd comments on how cool and beautiful goddess Zio Nan is, expressing envy toward her status as a spirit master. They notice Lin Ying from the Lin family, who is rumored to be nearly a Tier 2 martial artist. Finally, they see the city lord's son, Wang Tianchuo, who is known as a barbarian god with 95% fire attribute compatibility and a special physique. As they pass through the crowd, Su Hong watches them, finding it interesting to see the three top geniuses the president mentioned, and thinks he would like to see just how much of a genius they really are. The instructor announces that everyone has arrived and begins explaining the assessment rules. He explains the training camp is located 30 kilometers away within the Tianlin mountain range. He reveals that tokens have been buried inside the bodies of some ferocious beasts, and students can only enter the camp if they hold a token. They are given 8 hours to arrive. He warns that once they go deep into the mountains, they might encounter high-level beasts, and if things go wrong, people will die. Su Hong thinks the 8-hour time limit is simple and realizes he has plenty of time to kill ferocious beasts to earn martial value. A student asks what happens if they run into beasts with levels far exceeding their own. The instructor tells them to consider themselves unlucky and eliminated, though someone will come to save their lives. The students protest that it is not fair and relies too much on luck, as the strong might be eliminated while the weak pass by sheer luck. The instructor yells that this world is not playing house. He asks if they will protest it being unfair when they reach the All Heavens battlefield after 10 years of cultivation, only to be slapped to death by a passing expert. He tells them that if they do not want to encounter high-tier beasts, they must act with caution, explaining that the rules of the battlefield involve avoiding risk, bullying the weak with strength, and fighting many against few. Another agrees, saying those afraid of death should quit early to save them from wasting time, calling them a bunch of trash. The first student tells him to say that again, and the second student calls him a coward to his face, telling him to make a move and watch as he cripples him. The instructor declares that while violence is prohibited in the camp, they will not interfere once the students enter the mountains. They can snatch tokens or beat someone up as they please. They glare at each other with hostility. Su Hong observes that the training camp is cruel for encouraging them to fight one another, thinking that under these rules, over half of the people will probably be eliminated. He considers the idea that if he fights these people, he will be able to obtain heaps of martial value. The instructor tells them to cut the crap and announces the assessment begins, ordering everyone to get out. The students immediately charge toward the forest. The two students who were arguing continue their fight in the woods, exchanging frantic blows. Su Hong watches from a tree branch, having wanted to see the combat power of these geniuses. He thinks it is far less impressive than the rumors and notes that even if he defeats them, he will not gain much martial value. He decides he should hurry up and hunt a few more high-level ferocious beasts instead. The two fighters continue to insult each other, calling one another paupers and mocking their hard cultivation, with one telling the other not to compare him to those working-class paupers. Su hears this and becomes angry, thinking he cannot let this delivered martial value slip away. He approaches them and tells them to stop fighting and play with him instead. The students ask if another pauper has arrived and threaten to beat him up too, asking what level he is to dare to break up their fight. Su Hong tells them they misunderstood and suggests they stop fighting each other to join hands and fight him together. Immediately, one of the students charges at him, but Su just kicks him, sending him flying across the area. The second student cannot believe the other lost in a single move and notes how fast Su Hong's footwork is. As he looks back, Su Hong tells the second student it is his turn and delivers a heavy blow to his head. After defeating the guy, Su Hong stands over the fallen warriors and declares that this is the consequence of looking down on ordinary cultivators. At the same time, in the central hall, a man monitoring the second row of screens questions where Su Hong came from. They note he appeared in the middle of a hot-blooded duel and finished both warriors with one-shot attacks. They wonder if the two who got knocked down should count as eliminated. An instructor explains that since neither of them actively requested rescue, the assessment continues. After some time, the second guy groans as he regains consciousness, nodding that it hurts so much. He feels humiliated and reflects that he has never suffered such a great embarrassment in his life. The first guy also sits up, realizing that if he had not underestimated the enemy, he never would have lost to that kid. The two of them stare at each other and one apologizes for his previous words, admitting that he should not have mocked him. The second tells him that the guy is actually very strong and not to take those words to heart. They help each other stand up and decide to go get their revenge, planning to use a wooden club to give Su-hong a few good whacks to vent their anger. Meanwhile, Su-hong moves through the forest until he notices another horde of Tier 1 initial stage giant-toothed wild boars. The boars immediately sense his presence and charge at him. He looks at them and unleashes the Thunder Rush Fist, 9 echoes, killing the monsters one by one until the entire pack is finished. The boy has a spear but still uses his fists, as he is trying to farm some aura points as well. He looks at the system and becomes annoyed, reflecting that in the past, defeating a martial artist would give dozens of martial value points. He realizes that as he levels up and grows stronger, the martial value rewards from these ferocious beasts are getting smaller and smaller. Su-hong starts cutting and searching through the monster bodies, fumbling through the dozens of Tier 1 initial stage ferocious beasts he just killed. He notes that the previous 10 beasts had no tokens and wonders if this group has any. He wipes his hands and realizes there still is not even a single token. He concludes that it seems only slightly higher level ferocious beasts will have tokens inside their bodies. Half an hour later, Su-hong continues his journey deep into the mountain. When he first entered 3 to 5 kilometers into the forest, he could encounter over a dozen low-level ferocious beasts in an hour. He wonders why he cannot find even a single one now. A monster suddenly appears. Su quickly identifies it as a Tier 1 high-stage Nether Knight Black Tiger. Without wasting time, he activates the Void-Breaking Finger, severely injuring the beast and causing it to fall to the ground. He runs toward it with his spear and thrusts it into the tiger's head, obtaining 35 martial value points. He realizes that with his current strength, killing a Tier 1 high-stage ferocious beast is as easy as flipping his hand. He fumbles through the black tiger's stomach, hoping it has a token. He awkwardly smiles as he pulls out a token which was covered in blood, reflecting that it took him nearly 3 hours just to find this one. This makes him realize that while Tier 1 initial stage wild boars were everywhere, finding this high-stage tiger took half an hour. It seems that the deeper he goes into the mountain range, the higher the tiers of the ferocious beasts become, but the fewer their numbers are. Even though the Tier 1 high-stage beast yields more martial value, he only found one in half an hour. He concludes that if he hunts low-level ferocious beasts on the outskirts of the mountain range, he could actually earn more martial value by piling up the quantity rather than pursuing quality. There are still 5 hours left in the assessment, so he decides he must accumulate enough martial value to max out his mortal body progress. After some time, at a place where there was so much blood on the ground that it created a large puddle, and monster bodies are everywhere. This was done by Su-hong and he is still killing more beasts, when suddenly a giant beast appears and attacks him from behind. However, he manages to dodge that attack. He notes that after fighting dozens of Tier 1 beasts, he has finally encountered another Tier 1 middle stage ferocious beast. With just a single punch, he launches the bear like a cannonball against a tree. The bear screams in pain as Su-hong finishes it with another precise blow. The attack was so powerful that it even destroys the tree. Su-hong reflects that after his mortal body was upgraded to 60%, he could kill a Tier 1 middle stage beast relying purely on physical strength. He has already earned 254 martial value points and is only short over 100 points to max out his mortal body progress. With over 3 hours left, he decides to gather enough martial value. Suddenly, a loud screech echoes through the forest, and he is startled, wondering what that noise was. A giant bird appears flying above the trees, and Su-hong wonders if it could be the legendary Golden Rock Beast King. The Beast King screeches again, and Su-hong feels a terrifying shockwave created by just a flap of its wings. He grips his spear and reflects that the strength of a Beast King is truly formidable and overwhelming. Some trees are destroyed as Su-hong tries to protect himself, wondering what kind of ferocious beast he is encountering. He admits that recently he has become somewhat complacent about his own strength. However, in front of these top-tier experts, he is simply an ant. Suddenly, something catches his attention as he wonders what a certain ball of light is. Qin Tianli, a Tier 7 Grandmaster, appears flying through the air. He addresses the Beast King, stating that he has borrowed this territory, and asks the monster what it is doing here again. The Golden Rock Beast King screams in response that he never said he would lend the territory to the man and tries to attack. Tianli declares that he will beat the monster until he agrees. He delivers a punch that makes the Golden Rock Beast King screech in pain. Tianli shouts that the bird is so noisy and unleashes a combo of attacks and delivers a final punch to the Beast King's face. He then tells the Golden Rock Beast King not to make him repeat himself and demands that it get out of there right now, since he is borrowing this land. The monster flies away, telling Qin Tianli to just wait. Tianli tells the crowd to have had enough with the nonsense and get lost. He then looks down and announces to everyone that he is the Tier 7 Grandmaster Qin Tianli. He tells all the students not to panic because the assessment will continue. Su Hong considers if this is the strength of a human race Tier 7 martial artist. He thinks that sooner or later he will also reach this realm. Tianli returns to the camp flying, and as he is landing, he comments that the golden-winged great rock should have just agreed readily, but instead, it made him thrash the creature. Beimu, another Tier 5 martial artist, notes that, as expected of Grandmaster Qin, he is even more formidable than the rumors. Lindsay, a Tier 5 martial artist, agrees, stating that the golden-winged great rock, renowned for his tyrannical physical body, was beaten until he lost his temper. Tianli tells them to stop flattering him, and orders them to come to the monitoring room to see who withstood the pressure of the golden-winged great rock just now. After arriving in the monitoring room, the assistants explain that they are looking at surveillance replays from just now. They note that most of the students were unable to move under the golden-winged rock's pressure. Tianli notices a student who easily withstood the pressure after killing a pack of Tier 1 late-stage black tigers and asks for his name. Beimu explains that his name is Wang Tianchuo, a Tier 1 high stage with a vitality of 340 and 95% fire attribute compatibility. She adds that the boy possesses the special physique barbarian god body and has boundless strength as the son of the Star City Lord. Tianli recalls that the City Lord said having kids is like a lottery, and he had no less than 100 children before finally producing a decent one this time. He then points out a boy who managed to escape the coverage of the pressure with brilliant movement techniques. Beimu identifies him as Lin Xing, a Tier 1 high stage with 325 vitality and 96% wind attribute compatibility from the Star City Lin family. Lastly, Qin Tianli notices a girl with enough mental power to cancel out the golden-winged rock's pressure. Beimu explains she is a spirit master named Xiao Yan, a Tier 1 middle stage with 290 vitality and 95% wood attribute compatibility, who is a scion of the Star City Xiao family. The Grandmaster notes these three face the pressure with ease, showing their strength far exceeds their peers. He asks if there are any other talents. Beimu mentions Lin Po and Wang, both Tier 1 middle stage martial artists. She explains that the dozen or so individuals she mentioned all possess Tier 1 middle stage strength and did not lose consciousness when facing the Golden Rock's pressure. Tianli asks why they are all scions of major families and asks about the students from the schools, especially Star City No. 1 High School. Beimu reports that those students are at the Tier 1 initial stage, and only 3 students from No. 1 High School have recently broken through. Tianli tells her to forget it, thinking that Star City is somewhat unworthy of its reputation. Suddenly, Lin Zi shouts to wait and asks what is going on with a certain person. He points to a monitor and notes that, right after experiencing the Golden Rock's pressure, the student actually still has the strength to hunt ferocious beasts. Beimu checks the list and trembles, saying that he is a monster from Star City No. 1 High School. Lin Zi tells her not to be so jumpy in front of the Grandmaster and takes the report from her, but he also begins to shake as he reads the report. He stutters as he also calls the student a monster. Tianli notes that they are young and their temperament isn't very steady. He rips off the paper from the report and looks at it. As he does, his eyes go wide and he asks if the kid is human. The Grandmaster looks at Su Hong's file and sees 100% compatibility for all attributes and a special physique. He wonders if there is really such a monster in this world. Tianli becomes extremely excited, thinking this is a rare encounter in a millennium and that he has struck gold. He then stops and asks why Su Hong is only at the Tier 1 initial stage with 123 vitality points. Beimu explains that Su is simultaneously cultivating 7 guidance techniques. Tianli becomes angry, realizing that is why his vitality is so low, thinking that cultivating 7 types simultaneously would be too much even for a deity. He wonders how his cultivation could possibly increase and asks how Wu Lingxian didn't explain this small matter clearly to the kid. One examiner arrives and tells them that students are arriving at the training camp one after another. Tianli decides to go take a look. Wang Tianchuo, Xiao Yan, and Lin Xing pay their respects to Grandmaster Qin. He tells the 3 little ones they are very good. 6 hours after the start of the assessment, more students finally arrive. They think they were going to die and mention it was the Golden Rock Beast King after all. 7.5 hours after the start, people think they might as well end it early, as nobody should be left behind. Grandmaster Chin wonders where the monster named Su Hong is and hopes he hasn't lost his precious treasure. He then spots Su Hong and thinks the brat is finally here. Su is exhausted and reflects that he was so focused on earning martial value that he almost forgot the time. He enters the camp, and the other students cannot believe how dirty he is. They wonder exactly how many ferocious beasts he had to kill to get so dirty. Two guys from before also see him. One tells the other he waited until the brat showed up, and the other tells him not to be in a rush because once they are in the training camp, there will be plenty of ways to deal with him. Wang Tianchuo, Xiao Yan, and Lin Xing watch him, and Xing thinks it is interesting that an expert is passing right at the deadline. An instructor announces that the 8 hours are up and anyone who hasn't arrived is completely eliminated. He says he will introduce the facilities and rules, listing the gravity training room, movement technique training room, and the ferocious beast combat room, and the martial art pavilion. He explains that in the martial art pavilion they can exchange for martial skills, movement techniques, pills, and weapons, with the highest grade reaching a rank. Su Hong thinks he definitely came to the right place by joining this training camp. The instructor warns that to use these facilities, they need to provide enough contribution points. He says the only way to obtain them is by passing various training subjects, and outstanding performance yields extra rewards. He tells those who can still train to go and train, and injured students to follow him to the dormitories so they don't die in his hands. Su Hong enters his room and feels relieved it is a single room. In the future, when he cultivates and upgrades, he won't have to worry about being seen. He sits on his bed and sees he has 354 martial value points. He decides to max out the mortal body and begins the distribution of points. The system shows the mortal body at 70%, 80%, and 90%. Su Hong reaches 100% mortal body evolution. He gasps as his eyes glow with a red light. The power begins to spread throughout his entire body until the enormous pressure gradually dissipates and completely calms down. He finds the sensation incredible, reflecting that just the eruption of the physical body alone possesses such power. He checks the system and sees he has obtained the Overlord Body talent, which is described as the existence with the strongest strength among all physiques in the world. Su Hong admits that he has never heard of an Overlord Body before and notices that the spirit rank is at 0%, which means the Overlord Body can still be upgraded, and he wonders what kind of heaven-defying physique it will evolve into next. He is filled with excitement as he decides to test exactly how much strength this Overlord Body possesses. He tries to pick up his spear, but as he does, he realizes the weapon is about to snap just from him casually squeezing it. He notes that the spear is made of a C-rank alloy and is very expensive, having cost him a fortune. But then he remembers that he actually picked this spear up in the Star City wilderness, so it did not cost him any money. He resolves to gather enough contribution points as soon as possible to exchange it for an A-rank alloy spear. Su Hong puts on his jacket and considers that he can earn contribution points just by wearing a weight vest, wondering if he can carry a few hundred kilograms. He heads to the warehouse where people are simply impressed by Wang Tianchuo. The boy is carrying a 3,000-kilogram load and even says it is a bit light while managing to jump with ease. Xiao Yan comments that Wang Tianchuo's strength is as huge as a monster's. The supervisors are observing from the monitoring room, and one assistant notes that Wang Tianchuo can easily carry a 3,000-kilogram load, worthy of the barbarian god body. She asks Grandmaster Qin when they should find Su Hong to explain the disadvantages of simultaneously cultivating 7 guidance techniques in detail. The old man says they cannot be so direct because geniuses all have their pride, and speaking to them directly will only backfire. He suggests they use some methods to let him understand on his own and give it up voluntarily. He then asks if the arranged night raiders have finished assembling. The assistant says it still needs some time to match the combat power of different students, which is a bit troublesome. He notes that the trainees just finished the assessment and have relaxed mindsets, so encountering a night raid suddenly will make them howl in grief. Tianli orders them to arrange a Tier 1 high-stage martial artist for Su Hong, because he wants the boy to be overwhelmingly defeated. He plans to then explain the disadvantages of his cultivation method, so the boy will listen obediently. The assistant is shocked, noting that a Tier 1 high-stage martial artist has over 400 vitality and 5,000 combat power points, while the boy's vitality is only a little over 100. They worry that the boy's Dao heart might collapse from the beating. Qin Tianli calls this nonsense, stating he is doing this to correct Su Hong's mistakes, and that if his Dao heart collapses so easily, then the boy is just a piece of trash. Meanwhile, everyone outside is rushing to watch Wang Tianchuo train in the gravity room. Su arrives to pick up a smart bracelet used for calculating points. He goes to the weight racks and notices that the heaviest one is 10 tons, forged from a super heavy alloy. He wonders who can even wear such a thing. He tries to wear it but finds it far too heavy, realizing it severely affects his speed and he won't last long. He decides the 5-ton weight load is the most suitable for him right now. He puts it on and is still able to move easily. Su Hong wonders how much weight Wang Tianchuo and the other two geniuses chose, assuming that since they are Tier 1 high stage, they should be at least as strong as him. He puts his clothes back on and goes to observe their cultivation methods, hopping to gain some experience. Outside, people are surprised to see Wang Tianchuo enter the gravity room without even taking off his 3-ton weight vest, and even set the gravity to 2x, as it means he is under 6 tons of pressure. Su Hong sees this and thinks he had a bit of a misunderstanding about the toughness of the overlord body, and notes that Wang Tianchuo's 3 tons is actually quite light for him. He then sees Chen Shan and Li Tu standing outside. Su asks why they aren't going into the gravity room to cultivate. They reply that if they enter, they will definitely be singled out for comparison, which is too embarrassing since they are lagging too far behind. Su sighs at this reason and heads into the room himself. His friends ask if he is really going in and if he is not afraid of embarrassing himself. They suggest he wait until there are fewer people before going in. Other warriors mock him, assuming he probably isn't wearing a weight suit and just wants to surpass Wang Tianchuo in terms of the gravity multiplier. Su Hong enters the room, reflecting that a gravity room is extremely expensive to build and only prominent aristocratic families can afford them. He cannot let this good opportunity slip by. Wearing a 5-ton weight vest in double gravity makes it 10 tons, which he could only hold on to for 10 odd minutes. He decides it is better to set it to 1.5 times so he can last a bit longer. However, the pressure still makes him groan. People watching through the monitor mock him for only punching in 1.5 times gravity without even wearing a weight vest, calling it hilarious. Su Hong begins to meditate, noting that while the heavy pressure makes cultivating a guidance technique more difficult, the cultivation speed has obviously accelerated a lot. 2 hours later, he is still meditating but is completely exhausted. He sees that aside from the thunder and fire guidance techniques, all other guidance techniques leveled up by 1. His vitality even increased from 126 points to 130 points. He turns off the device and struggles to stand up, thinking the gravity room's effect is good and the other facilities probably won't be bad either. He leaves the room exhausted. As he leaves, 2 boys mock him by saying, "Look quickly, the dead last came out so fast." They laugh because he couldn't even handle 1.5 times gravity, even without a weight suit. Su Hong ignores them and starts taking off his shirt, noting that the breathability of the weight suit is too terrible and it is boiling hot. The 2 boys who were just making fun of him are stunned to see the weight suit. They suspect they witnessed it incorrectly, and consider questioning the exact number of kilograms the weight actually weighs. His companion suggests that since Su Hong finished in the last place, the weight is likely only 500 kilograms instead of 5,000. He believes it was something so heavy that it looked like torture for the boy, but it still proves that Su Hong is not entirely weak. They remark that regardless of his effort, he does not compare to Wang Tianchuo at all. At that moment, the crowd begins shouting as Wang Tianchuo exits the room, having withstood 6 tons of heavy pressure for more than 2 hours. They think this is insane, as his physical body strength is definitely number 1 in the training camp. They note that if it were them, they would barely be able to handle a 500-kilogram weight for half an hour. Wang Tianchuo throws the weight on the ground, and the impact leaves everyone in the camp shocked by the heavy thud. He feels relieved, nodding that he finally feels relaxed and light again. His partner admits that he is inferior in terms of strength and asks if they should go to the movement technique room to compete. Wang Tianchuo tells him to stop joking, as the other is a practitioner of an A-rank movement technique and possesses the wind attribute, declaring his brain would have to be broken to compete with him. Su Hong hears about this A-rank movement technique and finds it interesting. Even though the strength of his overlord body is already immense, he is interested in a movement technique of such a high level. Everyone moves to the movement technique training room and is surprised by Lin Xing, who has set the difficulty to the maximum level of 10, while the others can barely reach level 3. Lin moves so fast that eyes can barely follow him for a second. He still has the spare energy to show off as flower petals emerge from somewhere, leaving the crowd wondering where they came from. Su Hong thinks the movement technique is good, and his system starts making progress on the flying swan startling cloud step, as he immediately begins to imitate the essence of Lin, analyzing the movements every second. Su Hong starts walking, drawing the attention of the crowd. He begins to practice the skill and people cannot believe what he is doing. They wonder if he actually thinks he can learn the flying swan startling cloud step just by watching Lin Xing, laughing loudly because they think an A-rank movement technique could not be so easy to learn. Inside his system space, Su-hong repeats the movement hundreds of times, increasing his proficiency until he finally manages to obtain the flying swan startling cloud step at the basic level. He feels relieved since he has finally learned his first A-rank movement technique. However, he finds Lin Xinghe's movements too flashy and showy, which he finds a bit embarrassing. Since he has never seen a normal version of the flying swan startling cloud step, he realizes he can only learn from Lin for now. Having learned the technique, he knows he no longer needs to train in the movement room and can go straight to the ferocious beast room to obtain martial value and raise his vitality. As he leaves the system space, Su-hong is startled and wonders why everyone is staring at him. While the crowd says his posture was incredibly showy and had the essence of Lin Xing, nodding that it was too flashy. He simply cannot believe that he was performing those showy movements in the real world while he was learning them inside the system. Embarrassed, he runs and thinks that he absolutely cannot use Lin Xing as a template in the future. As he runs, people beg him to perform the move again, shouting that he was exploding with handsomeness just now. At that moment, he realizes someone is following him. The duo from before have finally found him and are seeking revenge. They notice he is heading to the ferocious beast room and decide to block the door, planning to give him a few vicious blows when he comes out. At the ferocious beast room, Wang Tianchuo asks Xiao Yan if she really wants to compete to see who is number one in the training camp by killing beasts. He asks if she thinks she can beat his barbarian god body by relying on spiritual telekinesis, accusing her of underestimating him, but she retorts that he is the one underestimating the power of a spirit master. Su-hong watches and thinks it is interesting to see a spirit master's fighting method since he has never seen one in person, so he decides to watch first and earn martial value later. On the big screen, he sees her floating out of thin air, which surprises him because walking on air is a method only grandmasters possess, and he wonders if a spirit master can do that. She gathers energy in her hand and fires streams of flowing light that simultaneously kill 3 Tier 1 high-stage black tigers. Su-hong finds this incredible but wonders what those rays of light are. At that moment, a much larger tiger roars and attacks from behind, but she uses spiritual telekinesis to forcibly bind and control it in the air. She then uses her power again and kills the tiger. Su-hong realizes those streaks of flowing light were actually daggers. He notes that every spirit master is ridiculously strong and can easily crush ordinary martial artists. Suddenly, someone shouts, questioning what the deal is with the giant sword they are seeing. Xiao Yan materializes a massive weapon and with a single strike cuts a giant python beast in half. Su-hong is shocked by the power, nodding she was not holding a weapon before and that such a huge blade must weigh several tons. Lin Xinghe appears and says this is a martial skill belonging to spirit masters that is as high as A-rank. The crowd is amazed as they have never heard of such a thing. Since Lin and Xiao have A-rank martial skills, they soon deduce that Wang Tianchuo must also have an offensive A-rank technique. Lin confirms that Wang has an offensive A-rank skill too, while the crowd remarks that they are all monsters. Su-hong is excited that the training camp is crowded with A-rank martial skills and is certain he came to the right place. Wang Tianchuo also kills high-level beasts, blowing them up with one punch. When one guy asks what skill Wang used, another replies, "What martial skill? This is just his pure physical strength." Su-hong notes that the guy is using just his pure physical strength and does not seem to have any intention of using martial skills. He decides he will find a chance to learn from him next time. Right now, he wants to become a spirit master, but his spirit stat is only 26.5. He notes that one needs to exceed 100 points to become a spirit master, so he is still short 73.5 points. He becomes motivated to go on a killing spree to gain the 735 points of martial value he needs. The duo see Su-hong entering the room and decide to follow him. They note that everyone else is focused on Wang Tianchuo and Xiao Yan, so it is the perfect opportunity to ruthlessly beat the kid up. However, they are shocked when they look at the monitor. They see Su-hong is challenging more than 10 Tier 1 high-stage ferocious beasts at once and wonder if he is crazy. The two of them start to panic as they consider finding an instructor to save Su-hong. However, they believe it is already too late for him because they are certain the monsters will tear him to shreds in seconds. Inside the ferocious beast room, he taunts the creatures, provoking them to charge at him all at once. He springs backward to evade the attacks and he then activates his skill, and energy goes through the monsters' bodies. He then increases his power, attacking every monster with such force that the internal organs of the beasts are completely shredded. Both of them are left speechless as they watch Su-hong destroy monsters that even a middle-stage martial artist would struggle against, until one suddenly notices that Su-hong is using familiar footwork and realizes the boy has already copied the flying swan startling cloud step belonging to Lin Xing. He and his partner argue over how such a feat should be impossible for a normal student, wondering if he watched Lin Xinghe use the movement technique and then learned it. They quickly accept reality and acknowledge that Su Hong possesses heaven-defying talent to have mastered the technique so quickly. And the other suggests that they should just forget about their revenge mission because even if they gather together, they are not enough for him. The first guy does not even attempt to object, saying that whether Su is the heir of a great family or a monster genius, he simply cannot swallow this anger. But the second guy points back toward the training room, saying that before he goes looking for trouble with him, it is better to take a look at this. He looks up at the screen and it makes him drop his weapon. They stare at the monitor and see that Su Hong has eliminated 11 high-stage ferocious beasts in only a few minutes. Su Hong checks the points he earned after defeating over a dozen Tier 1 high-level creatures and notes that the 81 martial value points he received are not very high, confirming his theory that earning points becomes harder as he grows stronger. Before he can even take a moment to rest, more monsters emerge, forcing him to quickly stand back up. A beast attempts a surprise attack from behind, but he reacts instantly and punches the creature into the afterlife using his Vajra fist. He unleashes a terrifying aura that causes the monsters to hesitate, but he refuses to give them a second chance since he needs their martial value points. He charges after them and begins wiping out the beasts without any mercy. Outside the room, they decide that it would be best for them to simply forgive Su Hong and move on, realizing it would be dangerous if Su Hong encounters them there after he finishes. They quickly walk away and soon pass by the area where other trainees are gathered. A colleague is surprised to see them back so soon and asks if they succeeded in their revenge and if they already beat that kid up, but the two can only respond with nervous laughter. But internally, they are just relieved that they still have their heads on their shoulders, thinking that if they weren't clever, they would be lying on the ground like dead dogs right now because this training camp is too outrageous and full of heaven-defying monsters. Just then, Wang Tianchuo and Xiao Yan exit the beast room, with the boy having earned 280 points while the girl secured 270. Their followers begin to praise them and estimate that they must have killed between 50 and 60 Tier 1 high-level beasts. Regarding their weight vest contributions, Wang Tianchuo earned 100 points while Xiao Yan received 50. These totals are impressive to their followers, as the highest among the rest of the group is only 30 points. The crowd continues to discuss how powerful these geniuses are based on their hunt results. However, the duo are the only ones who know there is an even more terrifying monster in the camp who stands above the big three. 1 hour later, Su Hong sits atop a mountain of corpses and notes that he is starting to feel exhausted. He reflects that he is still far from his target of 735 martial value points. Nonetheless, he checks his smart bracelet and sees that he has earned a total of 700 contribution points through hunting and his weight vest. Without hesitation, he makes his way toward the martial art pavilion. Upon arriving, he approaches the counter to speak with the receptionist. He picks up a book to read through the exchange menu and is surprised to find that A-rank martial arts start at a minimum of 2,000 points. Thinking that A-rank martial arts are so expensive since the cheapest is 2,000 points, he notes the prices of the pills are still acceptable, especially since there are spirit-gathering pills here. The female attendant asks him if he has decided what he would like to exchange for, while internally, she assumes that Su Hong is just a Tier 1 initial stage student who cannot afford anything. Su Hong eventually makes a decision and asks if the spirit-gathering pills can actually increase spiritual power. So she confirms that they are effective but warns him that they only provide a benefit the first time they are taken, noting that the higher the grade of the spirit-gathering pill, the better the improvement effect. He sees the menu where the highest grade of the spirit-gathering pill reaches Tier 4 for 500 contribution points. He requests a Tier 4 spirit-gathering pill, and the attendant is shocked. She says that a Tier 4 spirit-gathering pill costs 500 contribution points, not 50 points. But when he displays his 700 points, she cannot believe her eyes but quickly provides the pill with a smile to him in a decorative box. So he thanks the woman and asks if she has any dual thunder and fire attribute alloy spears for sale. She answers that they do for only 200 points and thanks him for his patronage, calling him handsome. He ends up spending the rest of his points to acquire a new weapon. He returns to his room with a C-rank dual-attribute spear known as the Thunder Fire Spear. He looks at the system, noticing his vitality and guidance techniques have improved again, and that he also obtained 490 martial value points, meaning the improvement in this single day is more than what he had in the previous week. He opens the box given to him by the attendant and looks at the golden pill inside. He hopes this spirit-gathering pill can provide a 25.5 spiritual power improvement. He swallows the pill and immediately feels the spiritual energy shifting within his body. Then with a determined look, he declares that he is definitely going to become a spirit master. As the pill dissolves, he feels the effects of the Tier 4 spirit gathering pill as it begins to take effect immediately. The exhausted nerves all over his body are relieved, and he feels incredibly comfortable. His brain also becomes exceptionally clear, giving him the ability to sense everything going on in his surroundings. Once the process concludes, he is surprised to see that the pill actually boosted his spiritual power by exactly 24 points. He reviews his system window and sees his spirit stat is now 50.5, calculating that even if he uses all 490 of his martial value points, he would still be 0.5% short of what he needs. And he realizes that to gain that remaining 0.5%, he only needs 5 more points, which is the equivalent of defeating a single beast. He wishes that he had killed just one more creature before leaving the training room. Nonetheless, he decides he cannot regret what is already gone and prepares to rest so he can take care of it the next day. Meanwhile, at the training camp warehouse, the instructors who will be participating in the night raid have gathered. They look over leaflets to see the data of the applicants assigned to them, while others are assigned to the geniuses of the camp. One man, Bu Jingfeng, says they are bullshit geniuses, and that if he were still in high school, these brats would not even be qualified to be his sparring partners. A giant man says his target is Wang Tianchuo, whose vitality is as high as 340 points, noting that even Jingfeng did not have this level back in the day, which makes Jingfeng unable to believe students are that strong. The other two also discuss their targets, as one is in charge of a guy with vitality exceeding 300 and the other is in charge of a spirit master. Bu Jingfeng looks at his target's data and sees he is assigned to Su Hong, who is listed as having only 123 vitality points. His peers ask why he was given someone who seems as trashy as Su Hong, and one instructor believes that Grandmaster Qin must have made a mistake, but the Grandmaster enters the room at that moment to let them know the assignment was intentional. Jingfeng goes ahead to challenge the decision, calling the student trash. However, Qin Tianli lets him know that Su Hong is not as simple as he seems because his combat power is on par with that of a Tier 1 high-stage martial artist. The group is shocked when they hear this, as they do not expect someone with just over 100 vitality points to be able to challenge a proper martial artist. Tianli tells Jingfeng that he will understand his words by the time they exchange blows, though the instructor still complains about the task of bullying a junior since he has almost 500 vitality and is about to become a Tier 2 martial artist. But the Grandmaster slaps him on the head, telling him to do as he is told and instructing him to go all out from the very beginning, saying it is best if he can beat Su Hong until he doubts his life. Jingfeng still cannot believe he is expected to fight such a weak child, and even asks the Grandmaster if he holds a grudge against Su Hong, declaring that he will not be held responsible if he cripples the boy. Tianli smiles when he hears this and urges the man to beat Su Hong to pulp, telling him that he will not blame him and will also reward him. Bu Jingfeng agrees to this, but internally he thinks that the Grandmaster's smile is terrifying and that Su Hong is pitiful. Moments later, the Grandmaster orders them to start the operation, and the raiders make their way to the dormitories to perform the drill. At the dormitories, they begin to look for their targets and start fighting with their targeted students. Su Hong soon hears the sound and wonders if it is a sneak attack. While he is still thinking, his door is cut open. Bu Jingfeng rushes into the room and attacks, but Su Hong dodges that attack. He has heard that the All Heaven's 10,000 races frequently hunt down human race geniuses everywhere to weaken humanity's strength, and he wonders if it could be them. He quickly grabs his Thunder Fire Spear, and while he wonders just how strong this person is, Bu Jingfeng lunges for an attack while boasting about his own strength, telling the boy to count himself unlucky for running into him. Su Hong soon realizes the man is a human Tier 1 high-stage martial artist, and not someone from the All Heaven's 10,000 races. He smiles because this is exactly what he needs, figuring out that he will be able to gather the last 5 martial value points to become a spirit master if he defeats this enemy. Bu Jingfeng is shocked when he realizes that the boy is actually taking up a fighting pose against him, leaving him to wonder if the boy has gone out of his mind. Their weapons clash, and this is when Jingfeng realizes that the boy's physical strength is crazy, confirming that Su Hong's combat power is indeed on par with a Tier 1 high-stage warrior, and that Grandmaster Qin was not lying. Suddenly, he notices something else, thinking that a Tier 1 initial stage martial artist should not possess this kind of power. On the other hand, Su Hong is doing his best since it is his first time fighting a high-stage opponent. He swings his spear with a powerful aura, causing Jingfeng to leap back. Jingfeng begins to regret his initial assessment after realizing that this brat is a monster. Nonetheless, he is an experienced martial artist and knows what a fight between them entails. He unleashes his fire attribute, which coats his sword in purple flames, saying that a battle between martial artists is not just about comparing who has greater physical strength. Su Hong is surprised by the display of the fire attribute, since it is his first time seeing a fire attribute martial artist in person. Jingfeng lunges toward him while taunting, asking how he plans to handle this B-rank martial art and attacking with a flame slash. Su Hong thinks that this attack might be much stronger than the void-breaking finger, which is also B-rank. And he covers his spear in lightning and blocks the attack, knocking the instructor backward as the impact shatters the wall behind him, leaving him sweating. He cannot believe that the boy just blocked his fire martial art simply by externalizing lightning, admitting to himself that the boy is terrifyingly talented, and seeing why Grandmaster Qin told him to go all out. However, he continues to tease him, telling Su Hong that it appears he is bad at thunder attribute spear techniques. Otherwise, he really would not be able to defeat him this easily. Su Hong admits that he indeed does not know any thunder attribute spear techniques, but asks what would happen if he added something on top of them. He mixes two attributes, lightning and fire, leaving Bu Jingfeng in total shock by the attribute fusion. Su Hong performs the technique with ease right before his opponent's eyes. Bu Jingfeng is left completely stunned, as he has always believed that attribute fusion was nothing more than a myth. He continues to panic as Su Hong leaps toward him with a powerful attack. The instructor tries to uphold his honor by launching a counterstrike. However, the boy's power easily overwhelms him and knocks him through the wall, sending him crashing to the ground outside. Because he just defeated Bu Jingfeng, he is awarded 7 martial value points. He smiles because the instructor just gifted him the exact points he needs to advance and become a spirit master. His system window updates to show his new martial value of 497 points. Moments earlier, Qin Tianli and Beimu were waiting outside the dormitory for a report. The Grandmaster believed that Su Hong should be receiving the beating of his life at this very moment, reflecting that after this defeat, he would be able to persuade the boy to stop pursuing multiple guidance techniques simultaneously and focus on just one. Suddenly, Bu Jingfeng is sent flying through the wall and crashes right in front of Qin Tianli. He is totally knocked out, his face battered from the excessive beating he received. Beimu and the Grandmaster are left in complete shock because Su Hong defeated the instructor with such ease. At the same time, the 3 geniuses also defeat their opponents, sending them crashing through the walls just like Su Hong did. Wang Tianchuo, Xiao Yan, and Lin Xing step out of the broken wall, telling the Grandmaster that he should have sent stronger opponents because these ones were incredibly weak. Wang Tianchuo then notices there are 4 defeated instructors on the ground, and realizes the person who defeated the 4th one finished even faster than they did. Lin Xing assumes that the martial art instructor is simply weak, which is why he lost to his opponent. However, Beimu knows that Jingfeng was actually the strongest among the 4 instructors. Qin Tianli is not surprised by the 3 geniuses pulling off a win, but he realizes that Su Hong is only an initial stage Tier 1 martial artist, meaning facing a Tier 1 high-stage opponent should have been difficult. He wonders how Su Hong could have finished even faster than the 3 top geniuses. Suddenly, an official comes running over to tell Qin Tianli that something big has happened. The Grandmaster assumes a trainee was killed and tells the man that such things are normal. However, the official reports that while Su Hong was fighting Bu Jingfeng, he actually used attribute fusion. Qin Tianli initially dismisses this as nothing serious, but the moment the words sink in, he grabs the man and asks if he is telling the truth, and the officer reveals that Su Hong combined thunder and fire to defeat Bu Jingfeng. He mentions that he saw it clearly on the surveillance screen and suggests the Grandmaster can ask Bu Jingfeng himself if he doubts it. Jingfeng manages to regain consciousness just long enough to tell the Grandmaster that Su Hong really did use attribute fusion. Qin Tianli freaks out as he reveals that the only genius martial artist in the human race who researched attribute fusion actually took a full 19 years to achieve it, and Su Hong has been in contact with the 7 guidance techniques for less than a month. The Grandmaster becomes extremely hyped and declares that the boy is a true dragon appearing in the world. Beimu asks Tianli if attribute fusion is really as powerful as he is claiming, so he explains that back then, the martial artist who mastered it was able to suppress 2 Tier 2 fighters while he was still at Tier 1. She then asks why it is not promoted for cultivation if it is so strong. Qin Tianli mentions that research shows the technique is extremely difficult and carries a high probability of crippling one's own cultivation. He tells her that it is considered useless by many because if a martial artist remains stuck at Tier 1 for their entire life, there is no point. However, he is blown away by Su Hong succeeding in less than a month, which proves his level of comprehension is heaven-defying. Because the boy possesses 7 attributes, the Grandmaster realizes the power would be massive if he fuses all of them. He believes that if a monster like this grows up, he could stun the great emperors of the 10,000 races with a single move. His assistants tell him that he is boasting way too much and needs to calm down, noting that fusing 2 attributes is already not easy, so 7 is pure fantasy. Tianli asks them to forget his temporary loss of composure, and says he cannot allow Su Hong to continue cultivating all 7 if it delays his breakthrough. He worries that if Su Hong gets stuck fusing attributes and fails to break through, he would become a sinner of the human race. Suddenly, the official mentions that Su Hong also possesses a special physique that allowed his strength to crush Bu Jingfeng, and the Grandmaster berates him for not mentioning something so important earlier. She is shocked because Su Hong has only 120 vitality points, yet his strength crushed an instructor with nearly 500 vitality. Lindsay notes the vitality difference is 4 times, and this strength amplification far exceeds Wang Tianquo's barbarian god body. So Tianli decides that Su Hong's physique might be a heaven-defying existence and plans to organize a competition tomorrow. He wants to comprehensively test Su Hong's combat power and vitality value, ordering his staff to bring Wang Tianquo's group of 3 to spar with Su Hong. He wants to see what happens when a monster like him clashes with the strongest geniuses of the training camp. Inside his wrecked dorm room, Su Hong sits quietly and begins to meditate amidst the debris. He remains completely unbothered by the noise outside as he focuses on his growth. He opens the system and decides to pour all his remaining martial value into his spirit stat in one breath. A brilliant blue aura immediately envelops him as he enters the spirit realm. He closes his eyes to absorb the sensation of this newfound power, reflecting on how wonderful it feels. As he tests his abilities, a glowing phantom fist materializes. He reflects that controlling it feels somewhat unusual, much like suddenly growing a third arm. He checks his system interface and observes that his spirit stat has successfully surpassed the 100% mark. He is curious about how this works in reality and turns his attention toward his bed. He lifts the furniture effortlessly with just a single thought. Excitement fills his face as he rises other things into air alongside his spear. He realizes that he can now walk on air and execute telekinetic attacks, just like Xiao Yan. He determines that he must learn the rank spirit martial art from her and the offensive rank technique belonging to Wang Tianquo. Early the next morning, an urgent announcement orders everyone to gather within 1 minute, warning that any delay will result in a deduction of contribution points. Trainees rush downstairs in a frantic hurry while complaining about the intense schedule. They note that they have already endured the entry assessment, weighted training, and a surprise night raid in just a single day. They all gather at ground. Su Hong is also there, stretching as if the events of the previous night had no impact on him. An instructor stands before the group and tells them they have done well to make it, as he expected many would be too battered to stand. One disgruntled trainee argues that he only lost because of a cheap sneak attack, claiming he didn't even have time to put on his underpants, and complains that the raider deliberately aimed for his crotch. Instructor asks sarcastically if he expected an assassin from the All Heaven's 10,000 races to wait for him to put on his underpants before striking. The other students laugh loudly and begin calling the trainee bro underpants from then on. From where he stands, Su Hong agrees with instructor's point about real combat, though he understands why everyone is disgruntled. Instructor announces that there will be a comprehensive test today to give everyone a fair chance to perform. He explains that the system will evaluate their vitality, combat power, spirit, strength, speed, and martial skill mastery. Following the test, there will be an actual combat ranking, where the top 10 students will receive different amounts of daily contribution point rewards. Wang Tianquo, Xiao Yan, and Lin Xing listen with total confidence, as they are already considered the top 3. The other trainees immediately grow excited and focus on fighting for the remaining 7 spots. Su Hong wonders what the reward for first place might be. Instructor quiets the crowd and tells them to follow him to the test. He leads them toward a massive warehouse that serves as a temporary testing ground. Inside, the group gathers around a spider-like machine known as the Tier 2 Combat Power Tester. Grandmaster Qin Tianli observes the crowd and notes that Su Hong is hiding among the trainees without standing out at all. A bandaged student standing nearby assumes the Grandmaster is looking at him with high expectations. Su Hong looks at Boy and internally thinks that he is wrong about who the target is. He begins to feel uneasy, realizing that he is indeed the focus of Qin Tianli's gaze. Tianli addresses the crowd and announces a new temporary decision. He declares that the person who ranks first in the comprehensive score can choose any rank martial art or movement technique of their choice. The crowd reacts with a massive surge of excitement. They realize that rank skills are not common, as even prominent families only possess a few of them. Wang Tianquo becomes more focused as he considers how rare rank techniques are. Xiao Yan looks confident, eager to choose a skill that complements her abilities. Lin Xinghe remains determined to prove his speed is not useless as long as he obtains an rank martial art. Su Hong's eyes light up as he decides he must go all out to claim the top prize. Tianli narrows his eyes, reflecting that he wants to see the true strength of this monster-like youth. He announces the testing order, starting with Lin Xinghe, followed by Xiao Yan and Wang Tianquo, He names Su Hong as the fourth person to be tested. The crowd is surprised that Su Hong is being singled out, but Su remains composed. Chen Shan and Li Tu look at Su Hong with pity, assuming he is unlucky and must have offended the Grandmaster. Others theorize that Grandmaster is using Su Hong as a contrast to motivate the poor students, hoping they learn from shame and become brave. While duo who have seen Su Hong fight monster whisper that you guys will be dumbfounded later, Grandmaster explains that the test begins with physical body combat power before moving to martial skill combat power. Lin Xing steps forward and mentions that raw strength is not his strong point. He delivers a punch, causing the screen to display a score of 40-13. The trainees are deeply impressed that he scored over 4,000 without using any martial skills. One student notes that while his physical power seems low compared to his speed, it is still at the level of a Tier 2 martial artist. Su Hong reflects that Lin Xing's physical base must be solid to handle in a rank movement technique, and he prepares his system to copy the next move. Lin Xinghe gathers swirling green wind energy around his fist and unleashes the cloud-hiding Gale Fist. The machine shakes as the score jumps to 56-42. The crowd is amazed that a B-rank attribute martial art can be so terrifying, and most terrifying part is this isn't his strong suit, it's his weak point. Su Hong's system immediately notifies him that he has acquired the achievement for the wind-based, cloud-hiding Gale Fist. He analyzes the result and notes that the technique only increased the combat score by 1,600 points, which he considers to be a bit small and just so-so. Lin Xing steps down with a smug look, but Xiao Yan tells him that his result is nothing special. She steps up and records a physical body combat power of 32-53. Su note that it is normal for a spirit master's physical strength to be a little weaker. The key is the spiritual telekinesis martial art. Her eyes glow as she uses her spiritual telekinesis to manifest a massive golden hammer. Su Hong's system reacts instantly, informing him that he has acquired the new martial art, Spirit Weapon Condensation Art. He thinks that this training camp is amazing and wonders how many more skills he can learn today. Xiao Yan moves quickly and swings her arm. The enormous golden spirit weapon follows her movement and slams forcefully into the combat power tester. This display shows a score of 5,942. The observers react instantly, noting that her combat power is nearly 6,000 and even exceeds the result of Lin Xing, while others mention that she previously only had over 3,200 combat power, highlighting that her strength has almost doubled. Many people praise spirit masters, declaring them to be heaven's darlings with explosive power on a different level. While the crowd is distracted by the excitement, Su Hong stands silently among them as a soft blue aura envelops him while his consciousness moves into the system space. And a student nearby expresses jealousy toward Xiao Yan, explaining that spirit power is not only strong but also very versatile. Within the system space, golden spirit energy surges around him and spirals upward when he raises a finger. However, the effect does not last, and the construct shatters almost immediately into golden particles that vanish. Su Hong exhales heavily, appearing clearly exhausted, as he reflects that the spirit weapon condensation art can condense things other than weapons like tables, chairs, or even ferocious beasts. Noting that the more a creation is condensed into substance, the more spirit power it consumes. He realizes his current level makes it difficult to learn the technique immediately. Sweat forms on his face as he decides he will learn it slowly later, but his focus shifts back to reality as he waits to see the martial art of Wang Tianquo. Soon the announcement is made that it is now the turn of Wang Tianquo, and the trainees grow excited once more as Wang Tianquo walks forward with confidence, while people discuss his barbarian god body. Noting that he possesses terrifying strength and an absolute advantage in combat power, leading many to believe he is securely in first place due to his physique. Su Hong watches silently, wondering about the difference between this physique and his own overlord body. Wang Tianquo tells everyone to watch closely, declaring that this punch represents the gap between them. He drives a heavy punch into the machine, causing the force of the impact to spread throughout the arena. The observers ask if what they saw is real or fake, and others call it crazy, noting that his pure physical punch is only 300 points lower than the score of Lin Xing when using a martial art. They wonder if this is the immense strength for which the barbarian god body is renowned. Nearby, Tianli and Lin Zi watch the scene, and the Grandmaster comments that it is very good. Hearing the praise, Wang Tianquo bows and thanks the Grandmaster for the praise, then announces that he will use a martial art next. Su Hong becomes more interested, realizing the offensive rank martial art is coming. Energy begins to collect around Wang's arm. He steadies himself and focuses his energy to prepare for the attack. Grandmaster recognizes the move and notes it is the A-rank Bone Netherfire Fist. At that moment, Su Hong receives a system notification that he has acquired the new martial art, the fire-based Bone Netherfire Fist, and he reflects on the fact that this martial art is in the pavilion and costs 2,800 points to exchange. Wang then unleashes the A-rank martial art with all his strength. The impact shakes the entire area, and the tester flashes a result of 7,534, causing the spectators to react with shock, noting that another 500 points would reach the standard of a Tier 2 middle-stage martial artist with 600 vitality. Grandmaster watches with satisfaction and gives high praise, mentioning that the boy's father has talked about raising a grandmaster for half his life, and he now sees no problem with that. Wang Tianchuo respectfully says he will borrow those auspicious words. Next, Qin Tianli calls for Su Hong to take his turn. As he walks forward, people whisper that anyone who goes up after the top 3 will be extremely humiliated, and some notice he looks very calm, remarking that a dead pig does not fear boiling water. He reaches the front and stands before Qin Tianli and Lin Zi, while the Grandmaster explains that for the first punch, only pure physical strength may be used. Su Hong gives a simple okay and prepares himself. He focuses, telling himself the test reward is definitely his. He dashes forward with speed and drives his fist into the testing machine, causing a massive impact to spread across the arena. The display shows a result of 6,551. Grandmaster stares at the score in surprise, admitting he still underestimated the boy's monster level. The crowd is silent for a moment before reactions spread, questioning if the tester is broken after seeing over 6,500, while others point out that he was the dead last student, yet today he is like a monster. Some trainees mentioned they thought Wang Tianchuo was invincible, but now another expert has appeared. Wang Tianchuo, Lin Xinghe, and Xiao Yan watch closely, with the girl commenting on the exaggerated combat power, while Lin Xinghe insists that this is not combat power a Tier 1 martial artist can produce, and he must be a Tier 2 martial artist. Wang Tianchuo admits to himself that he was too arrogant before. Once the commotion settles, Su Hong asks the Grandmaster if he should continue with a martial art, and the Grandmaster nods in approval and tells him to continue. Su Hong returns to his stance and prepares for the next move. In the next moment, he shifts his focus to the system as the progress bar for the new technique begins to climb through percentages. He stands still as a cold blue, flame-like aura spreads around him, realizing the bone netherfire fist is very suitable for him. He notes that learning it is much faster than the flying swan startling cloud step, even though both are a rank. Grandmaster Qin watches closely, wondering how high the boy's combat power will go when he uses a martial art, while Lin Zi mentions that Su Hong is from an ordinary family and suggests his martial art should not be high level. But Qin watches him intently and notes that the technique he is executing in his current state is definitely not low level. The system finishes processing, showing 100% completion for the bone netherfire fist at the basic level. A blue netherfire collects around Su Hong's fist, and the crowd notices and wonders if that is the same bone netherfire fist used by Wang Tianchuo, asking how he knows it. Without delay, he steps forward and prepares to release the move, wondering how powerful an A-rank offensive martial art will be. He slams his fist into the machine, and the impact releases a powerful shock wave. Voices rise as people note the power seems even greater than that of Wang Tianchuo, and urge everyone to look at the result. The display shows 9,013, and the reaction is immediate, with people shouting that 9,000 matches the standard for a Tier 2 high-stage martial artist. Lin Zi questions whether a Tier 1 initial stage martial artist with 123 vitality should have this combat power, wondering if the data is broken, but Qin Tianli concludes that the boy is a monster. Lin Xinghe is shocked, explaining that 7,000 matches Tier 2 initial stage, 8,000 matches middle stage, and 9,000 matches high stage, while Xiao Yan adds that the standard for Tier 2 is 500 vitality, meaning he must have hidden his stats, and Wang Tianchuo admits his vitality is not even 400, and says it is not shameful to lose to him. Then the vitality tester displays Su Hong's actual number, 137. The crowd bursts into noise as Wang Tianchuo shouts in shock that it is only 137, while Lin Xinghe wonders if the tester is broken. People start arguing, with some suggesting a digit is missing, and that it should be 1,370, while others point out that this means he really is just a Tier 1 initial stage martial artist. They find it outrageous that 137 vitality can output 9,000 combat power. Su Hong simply walks out of the vitality tester, and Qin Tianli watches him with a serious expression. The Grandmaster steps forward and tells the trainees to stop crowding around, announcing they will proceed with the practical combat test and tournament rankings. He explains the challenge system where students can designate an opponent, adding that if no one dares to challenge a person, they will be first and receive an A-rank martial art reward. At that moment, Lin Xinghe immediately walks forward and declares that he wants to fight Su Hong. Lin steps forward and points his finger towards Su Hong, declaring his intent to challenge him. He feels smug and confident, reflecting that despite the boy's monstrous combat power, his low vitality remains a critical weakness. He plans to use his superior movement technique to evade attacks and exhaust Su Hong to death. However, Qin Tianli rejects the request for a one-on-one duel. Instead, the Grandmaster proposes that the top three elites face Su Hong together. The trio feels deeply offended by this suggestion. Lin Xing scowls at the idea of being underestimated, while Xiao Yan asks if the boy even deserves for all three of them to attack him at once. Wang Tianchuo expresses concern that their combined might could accidentally cripple the kid while they are playing around. Ignoring their complaints, Qin Tianli asks Su Hong for his opinion, and the student calmly replies that he has no objections. The elites glare at Su Hong, irritated because he seems to truly believe he is guaranteed to win. Wang Tianchuo thinks to himself that the boy is being pretentious and that he could leave him stunned all by himself. The Grandmaster announces that the match begins, and the three elites square up against Su Hong inside the testing facility. As the fight commences, they charge forward. Lin intends to blast out a cloud-hiding Gale Fist before running, waiting for Su Hong to engage the others so he can launch a sneak attack. He reflects that with the speed of his flying swan startling Cloud Step, it is impossible for the boy to react in time. His plan is shattered when Xiao Yan and Wang Tianchuo shout in panic for Lin to dodge. Caught off guard, the student turns in shock as Su Hong slides effortlessly past his line of sight and materializes directly behind him. Su Hong prepares a glowing blue punch while calmly bidding him goodbye. Just before the strike lands, the blow is brought to an abrupt halt inches from Lin Xing's face. Given a split-second reprieve, Lin frantically leaps backward to escape. After landing safely, he thanks Xiao Yan for her telekinetic intervention and warns his teammates that the boy's speed is unusual. Restrained by a faint telekinetic aura, Su Hong looks at his hand with mild intrigue. He reflects that it is his first time experiencing the feeling of being controlled by spiritual telekinesis and that he is not used to it. Realizing he must finish off Xiao Yan first, Su Hong rushes toward her with an explosive burst of speed. Xiao Yan is shocked by his speed. Lin and Wang are baffled to see him perfectly executing the flying swan startling Cloud Step and charge to intercept him. Lin wonders how a fire attribute user can perform his wind-based technique, eventually concluding that Su Hong must have dual attributes. He yells for Wang to stop him. Wang steps into the path of Su Hong with his arm ignited in a fiery aura, instructing Xiao Yan to focus on her spiritual control while he blocks the advance. Wang unleashes his A-rank bone netherfire fist. Instead of dodging, Su Hong mirrors the attack perfectly, his own fist erupting with the exact same pale blue flames. Before the strikes can connect, Xiao Yan amplifies her telekinetic hold and freezes Su Hong in his tracks. The crushing pressure causes the concrete beneath his feet to crack. Su Hong notes that the spiritual control is even more troublesome than he had initially imagined. Taking advantage of the situation, Lin leaps and brings down a fierce kick aimed at the boy's head. Observing from the sidelines, Qin Tianli muses that it might have been premature to let Su Hong fight all three elites. He reflects that escaping a spirit master's control requires either overwhelming physical strength or counteracting spiritual power. But despite the pressure, a confident smile spreads across the face of Su Hong. The Grandmaster is shocked to see that the boy is actually smiling. Just as the attacks are about to land, Su Hong unleashes a massive surge of brute strength and forcefully shatters the telekinetic bind. The violent backlash causes Xiao Yan to cough up blood as she loses her spiritual control. Now free, Su Hong effortlessly intercepts the attacks of the other two elites, creating a massive shock wave. The spectating trainees erupt in disbelief, terrified that he shattered the telekinesis using only sheer physical strength. They call him a humanoid ferocious beast. With a ruthless motion, Su Hong grabs the limbs of his opponents and twists them. Utilizing his monstrous strength, Su Hong lifts both elites and begins spinning them rapidly through the air. He eventually halts the spin and mercilessly slams both elites face first into the concrete floor. The massive impact shatters the ground, driving the face of Wang into the rubble while Lin coughs up blood. The trainees watch in horror as Su Hong repeatedly lifts and smashes the two elites into the ruined floor. When he finally releases his grip, the once proud elites lie completely motionless, having fainted from the savage beatdown. Standing tall amidst the settling dust, Su Hong has completely dominated the match. He locks an intense gaze onto his last remaining opponent, and Xiao Yan immediately loses her will to fight. Trembling, she throws her hands up and backs away, loudly surrendering and begging him not to come any closer. The spectating trainees are in awe, marveling that Su Hong has single-handedly crushed the camp's strongest trio. Qin Tianli steps forward to silence the commotion. He asks if anyone else dares to challenge Su Hong, declaring that otherwise the young man will take first place. The trainees quickly forfeit to avoid a similar fate, admitting that only an idiot would challenge him now. With no objections, the Grandmaster declares Su Hong the winner. He instructs Lin Zi to organize the remaining matches for the other rankings. He then tells Su-hong to follow him to claim his reward and select a new A-rank martial art. A satisfied smile spreads across the boy's face as he reflects on obtaining another powerful skill. As they walk, the Grandmaster mentions that he has been paying attention to Su-hong since the day he stepped into the training camp. He asks why the boy chose to hide his strength when others eagerly show off. Su-hong explains his caution, stating that without power or influence, sticking his head out too early makes it easy to be targeted. Qin Tianli laughs, appreciating the boy's survival instincts. He confesses that the tournament was arranged specifically for Su-hong to strive for more resources. The Grandmaster advises that in today's world, resources are concentrated on geniuses. He assures Su-hong that he no longer needs to hide his strength and offers his personal protection. Grateful for the backing, Su-hong thanks him. They soon arrive at the martial arts pavilion. Inside, the receptionist stands at attention as the Grandmaster orders her to bring the list of martial arts. He tells Su-hong to look carefully and ask if there is anything he does not understand. Su-hong asks which martial art would be best for him, but before advising, the Grandmaster asks which ones he already knows. Su-hong lists the Bone Netherfire Fist, Flying Swan Startling Cloud Step, Cloud Hiding Gale Fist, and Void Breaking Finger. The Grandmaster's expression tightens as he points out that those techniques are not in the camp's inventory. He asks incredulously if the boy really learned them just by watching Lin Xinghe use them once. When Su-hong casually confirms this, a drop of sweat rolls down the Grandmaster's face. He stares in silence, internally reflecting that the boy is truly a monster. The martial arts pavilion administrator watches in total shock, wondering who Su-hong could be to have Grandmaster Qin Tianli personally assist him in selecting a technique. As they look through the catalog, Qin Tianli suggests that since the boy already possesses offensive and movement skills, a control-type martial art would be best to balance his abilities. He recommends the A-rank Flame Cage, which condenses fire spiritual chi into a prison to trap and immobilize enemies. The Grandmaster explains that control-type arts require spiritual chi to leave the body, which is a difficult step that even most Tier 2 martial artists cannot achieve. Despite Su-hong currently being only at the Tier 1 initial stage, Qin Tianli believes that with his talent, he should be able to learn it. The old man mentions that he has learned this martial art before and offers to demonstrate it first so the boy can decide whether to choose it. Su-hong thanks him, as Qin Tianli summons a small flame from his hand. The Grandmaster notes that the power of control-type arts is immense and explains the battle's strategy. First, trap the enemy with the flame cage, and then launch an attack to achieve a one-hit kill. However, he warns that maintaining the cage while launching an attack would be impossible for the boy to perform right now. Qin Tianli admits that he only mastered that level of coordination after becoming a Tier 3 martial artist. Hearing that it is so difficult, Su-hong immediately shakes his head and tells the Grandmaster he is giving up on the technique and will choose something else. Qin Tianli is surprised by how quickly he surrenders his pride, reflecting that while most geniuses are arrogant, Su-hong actually listens to advice. Internally, Su-hong smiles because the system has already notified him that he acquired the new skill, Fire Flame Cage, just by watching the demonstration. Having already obtained the skill for free, he politely asks the Grandmaster to help him look for a different martial art. Qin Tianli flips through the pages and suggests a defensive technique next. He recommends the A-rank Earth attribute skill, Thick Earth Armor, which condenses battle armor on the user's surface for extremely high defense. Su-hong considers the idea and realizes that adding a defensive art to his special physique will yield incredible results. He tells Qin Tianli that he will follow his advice. As they finalize the choice, the Grandmaster asks what his special physique is called, so Su-hong confidently names it the Overlord Body. Privately hopping, the old man will be so impressed that he offers him a whole basket of A-rank skills. But Qin Tianli admits he has never heard of such a physique, prompting Su-hong to awkwardly confess that he just came up with the name himself. The Grandmaster assumes it must be a type of body that has not been recorded yet, noting that the strength amplification is downright terrifying, as he reflects that he has never seen the strength of a Tier 1 martial artist reach such a level. Suddenly, Qin Tianli receives an urgent phone call from an administrator, who reports that the contribution statistics show Su-hong was still wearing his weight vest during the entire tournament. The Grandmaster is shocked and asks if the boy really fought Wang Tianchuo and the others while weighted. Su-hong casually agrees, explaining that he would not have been able to get the points otherwise. Qin Tianli clutches his chest and tells himself to stay calm because the boy is a monster who should not be viewed with a normal mindset. He tells Su-hong to stop obsessing over points and take the vest off immediately, promising there will be plenty of rewards later. Su-hong agrees and hands the vest over to the pavilion administrator, warning her that it is a bit heavy. The woman states that she is a dignified Tier 2 martial artist and can handle it, but her eyes widen in shock as she takes the equipment. She immediately drops the vest, which crashes through the wooden floor with a loud boom. The administrator asks how many kilograms it weighs, and Su-hong casually replies that it is 5 tons. Qin Tianli sweats at the realization that a Tier 1 trainee carried that much weight while defeating 3 late-stage geniuses. The Grandmaster puts his arm around the boy and calls him a little monster, stating he has another A-rank martial art in mind to give him. Qin Tianli recalls that Su-hong uses a spear and mentions Grandmaster Zhang Lin of Yang City, who uses an extremely powerful A-rank thunder spear art. He proposes arranging a battle with the rival's student to trick him out of the martial art. Su-hong notes that this is not very nice, but Qin Tianli complains that Zhang Lin constantly mocks his training camp as being full of trash and he wants to mock him back. He tells the boy to go back and prepare, as they will head to Yang City early tomorrow morning. Su-hong returns to his room and is pleased to find the staff has tidied it up. He sits down and observes his system has registered several new skills, including Fire Scorch 4 Fields, Spirit Soul Capture Art, and Thick Earth Armor. He decides to cultivate all 3 to the basic level before morning. Meanwhile, Qin Tianli calls his rival and tells him to get the Thunder Spear art ready for a challenge. Grandmaster Zhang Lin dismisses the threat, bragging that his Yang City training camp has produced a wood spirit body genius who has already broken through to Tier 2. He boasts that his student Lin Chunfeng learned the A-rank control-type martial art, Wood Prison, in just 2 days. Zhang Lin watches as the green-haired student attempts to use the technique, but the wooden vines stop growing and start to dissipate before they can fully trap the target. Lin Chunfeng sighs at his failure, but he confidently tells the Grandmaster that he will reach the basic level within a month. On the phone, Zhang Lin continues to mock Qin Tianli by saying that back in the day, he spent 3 months on it himself, reinforcing that the boy is a monster and saying the student he is bringing is not someone that certain pieces of trash can challenge. Grandmaster Qin tries to argue, but Zhang Lin hangs up. He then tells Lin Chunfeng not to win too easily tomorrow and to act like the fight is narrowly matched to save Qin Tianli some face. Lin Chunfeng stretches his hand out as green energy claws form around it, telling his master to rest assured regarding his acting skills. The next afternoon, Qin Tianli uses his power to fly Su-hong toward the Yang City training camp. The boy admits that he did not expect his first time experiencing flight to be in this kind of situation. They land in the center of the courtyard to meet Zhang Lin and his men. The rival Grandmaster asks what kind of genius has been brought to him, and Qin Tianli introduces Su-hong as a Tier 1 initial stage martial artist who uses a spear as Su-hong politely greets Grandmaster Zhang Lin. But the man stares in annoyed disbelief, asking if Qin Tianli has developed senile dementia to treat a beginner rookie like a treasure. Internally, Zhang Lin begins to sweat as he realizes that a Tier 2 fighting a Tier 1 is an instant kill, meaning Lin Chunfeng's acting skills will be put to the ultimate test. But Qin Tianli ignores the insults and tells his old friend to hurry up and start the fight so they can head back for dinner. A large crowd of trainees gathers at the Yang City training camp arena in a state of high excitement. Many wonder about the visiting genius from Star City, jokingly hoping that the challenger will not be too weak. Zhang Lin introduces the famous Grandmaster Qin Tianli and his student, Su-hong, to the assembled crowd. Smiling awkwardly, Zhang Lin reveals to everyone that Su-hong is at the Tier 1 initial stage. The local trainees erupt in disbelief, feeling insulted that someone so weak would dare to challenge them. They mock Su-hong, pointing out that their champion, Lin Chunfeng, is a Tier 2 martial artist who can crush him instantly. Lin Chunfeng starts sweating nervously after hearing the comments. His master ordered him to make the fight look close to save the pride of Qin Tianli, but he panics over how to fake a fair battle against such a weak opponent. Ignoring the noise, Zhang Lin confirms the bet with Qin Tianli. If his student wins, Qin Tianli must teach him an A-rank martial art. Pretending to be generous, Zhang Lin tells Su-hong that if he somehow manages to win, he can choose an extra A-rank martial art as a prize, and Su-hong politely thanks him for the offer. Qin Tianli sarcastically calls his rival a nice guy while slapping his back. Meanwhile, Zhang Lin remains fully confident that a Tier 1 beginner can never defeat a Tier 2 student who possesses a rare wood spirit body. The competitors step into the arena while the Grandmasters watch from the side. Zhang Lin subtly reminds Lin Chunfeng to hold back his strength. Gripping his sword, the anxious student assures his master that he will comply. As he draws his blade, Lin Chunfeng continues to worry about his acting skills. He is terrified of accidentally hurting the beginner with a single careless strike. Noticing that his opponent is unarmed, Lin Chunfeng asks why Su-hong is not using the spear he brought to the camp. Su-hong casually stretches and replies that he will not use his weapon for now. He reflects that his only spear skill is a basic C-rank technique, which is much weaker than his A-rank fist and movement skills. He realizes that using the spear would put him at a clear disadvantage. Lin Chunfeng misinterprets this practical choice as pure arrogance and grows annoyed. Eager to test this confidence, he leaps into the air and charges at him with his sword. Covered in a green aura, Lin Chunfeng swings his blade downward. Su Hong easily dodges the heavy slash, stepping aside as the weapon smashes into the stone floor and sends debris flying. Using his A-rank movement skill, Su Hong gracefully glides backward across the arena. He leaves a trail of wind behind him as he keeps his distance. Lin Chunfeng is shocked to see a beginner use an A-rank wind movement technique. Thinking that it is interesting and refusing to let him escape, Lin Chunfeng charges forward again. He declares that movement skills are useless now and unleashes his wood prison technique. Thick green vines shoot from the ground and tightly wrap around the leg of Su Hong. Su Hong briefly praises the talent of Lin Chunfeng for possessing a rare control-type skill. He remains calm and flares his aura, preparing to use raw physical strength to break free. Before he can even try, the green vines suddenly shatter and vanish into thin air. Su Hong is confused, wondering how such a powerful technique could fall apart so instantly. Lin Chunfeng uses this brief distraction to appear midair behind Su Hong. Swinging his sword down, he confidently claims that stopping his opponent for just a second is enough to win. Su Hong is unfazed and calmly looks over his shoulder. He gathers glowing green wind energy around his fist, preparing a quick counterpunch. As he throws the wind-infused strike, Lin Chunfeng realizes with shock that the attack is too fast and will hit him before his sword can land. He desperately uses his wood escape technique to create a thick wooden barrier for protection. The defense proves to be completely useless, as the punch from Su Hong violently shatters the wooden shield into splinters and launches Lin Chunfeng backward with immense force. The battered Lin Chunfeng is completely baffled by the overwhelming physical power of a lower-level beginner. The local trainees are equally shocked to see their champion's A-rank defense easily broken. They fearfully realize that the raw strength of Su Hong is greater than that of a wild beast. Qin Tianli laughs loudly from above the arena, teasing his rival about the sudden turnaround. Jiang Lin is sweating but stubborn, arguing that raw strength alone will not defeat his genius student and tells his rival to keep watching. Su Hong launches himself forward at high speed to chase down Lin Chunfeng. He delivers a fierce kick, but his leg passes right through the target and shatters it into shadows. Su Hong quickly realizes he only hit an afterimage. Using his own A-rank movement skill, Lin Chunfeng appears directly behind him. He boasts about his own footwork and unleashes an explosive sword slash, but Su Hong dodges it easily. Panting, Lin Chunfeng looks across the arena and acknowledges the immense power of the boy. He urges Su Hong to give up, humbly admitting that he would definitely lose if they were at the same level. But Su Hong extends a hand toward him. Bright orange flames violently erupt from the boy's fist. Before Lin Chunfeng can react, a massive cage of fire roars to life and instantly traps him. Lin Chunfeng is shocked to see Su Hong use a control-type martial art. Sweating from the heat, he is amazed that a beginner has mastered the flame cage. He assumes the energy of Su Hong will not last long and decides to wait inside for the flames to collapse on their own. On the platform, Qin Tianli loses his composure, shocked that Su Hong has already mastered the technique. Jiang Lin asks why he is so surprised by a move he supposedly taught his own student, as Qin Tianli awkwardly stammers for an excuse, while Jiang Lin demands to know why a wind attribute student is suddenly using fire. The Grandmaster masks his ignorance by claiming that having multiple elements is not a big deal. Desperate to change the subject, Qin Tianli points back at the fight and Jiang Lin wonders why the cage has not collapsed yet. Su Hong stands calmly outside the cage, gathering a swirling white flame around his fist. Lin Chunfeng stares in horror from inside the prison. He realizes that Su Hong is multitasking by preparing an attack while maintaining the cage, which is a feat that even Tier 3 martial artists find difficult to do. Confirming these fears, Su Hong launches himself forward and drives his glowing fist right through the flames. Lin Chunfeng desperately triggers his wood escape again, summoning thick wooden roots to shield himself. The defense is useless as the glowing fist of Su Hong pierces straight through the wood. The strike slams into the stomach of Lin Chunfeng, causing him to cough up blood as he thinks that this is too ridiculous. Su Hong's fist smashes brutally into the chest of Lin Chunfeng, spraying blood into the air. The massive force launches his opponent backward, where he crashes violently against the scorching walls of the flame cage, severely burning his bare back. However, bright green energy instantly flares over the burns, rapidly healing the damaged skin. With a confident smirk, Chunfeng warns Su Hong not to underestimate the healing power of a Tier 2 martial artist's wood spirit body. Su Hong is unfazed and stares at him coldly, figuring that if one punch is not enough to keep him down, he will just throw more. Charging forward, Su Hong unleashes a rapid and relentless barrage of glowing punches, refusing to believe Lin Chunfeng can keep recovering forever. Even while taking the heavy blows, Chunfeng absorbs the damage and taunts his attacker, insisting that the effort is useless because a Tier 1 fighter's stamina can never outlast that of a Tier 2. Chunfeng gathers a dense sphere of green energy in his free hand and challenges him, eager to see whether the flame cage will collapse first or his recovery power will run out first. Realizing his fire energy is running dangerously low, Su Hong suddenly stops attacking, knowing the cage might collapse on its own and turn the situation against him. He cancels the fiery prison himself. As the flames vanish, Lin Chunfeng laughs in triumph, assuming Su Hong has given up and declaring that it is now his turn to attack and that the boy's defeat is guaranteed. However, his arrogant smile quickly vanishes and is replaced by sheer terror. Su Hong gathers a crackling mass of golden lightning and fire in his hand, casually mentioning he had not planned to use this move because it drains too much energy. Lin Chunfeng stares at the terrifying energy in Su Hong's hand and breaks into a cold sweat, stunned that a mere Tier 1 fighter can produce such monstrous power. Panicking, he knows he absolutely cannot let Su Hong get close, so Lin Chunfeng slams his glowing green hands onto the stone floor and channels every ounce of his remaining energy. Roaring the name of his defensive technique, he summons a massive wall of thick wooden pillars that erupt from the floor to shield himself. The eyes of Su Hong flare with intense golden light. Stepping up to the towering wooden wall, he pulls back his fist, which violently crackles with raw lightning energy. With devastating force, Su Hong drives his blazing, lightning-infused fist forward, warping the very air around the impact as the strike pierces straight through the thick wood like paper. The overwhelming punch hits Lin Chunfeng squarely in the face, blasting him backward and sending his unconscious body crashing onto the floor. Su Hong stands calmly among the fatting flames and debris, looking down at his defeated opponent. A stunned silence quickly falls over the massive crowd. The Yang City trainees erupt into panicked disbelief, horrified that their champion was knocked out in one strike despite his Tier 2 healing powers, and they cannot believe Su Hong is still only an early Tier 1 fighter. Grandmaster Jiang Lin breaks into a cold sweat and, staring in absolute shock, turns to his old rival and asks what kind of monster Qin Tianli has brought to the camp. Jiang Lin trembles as he points at the arena, realizing the boy used attribute fusion to achieve that destruction, and he is amazed that a young Tier 1 fighter has already mastered such an advanced technique. Grandmaster Qin Tianli sips his tea innocently and casually remarks that he definitely will not tell his old rival about Su Hong mastering dual attribute fusion in just 1 month, while Jiang Lin stares back in complete disbelief. Continuing to brag, Qin Tianli looks away and adds that if Jiang Lin knew Su Hong had 100% compatibility with all 7 elements and was training 7 guidance techniques at once, he would probably drop dead from fright. Pretending to be clumsy, Qin Tianli cheerfully apologizes for letting the secret slip, though his smug face shows he does not regret it at all. Meanwhile, Jiang Lin stands paralyzed as his mind struggles to process how a student could achieve such insane feats in a single month. Qin Tianli throws an arm around his dazed rival and brings up their bet, demanding that since Su Hong won the match, Jiang Lin must teach the boy the A-Rank Thunder Spirit Art and his ultimate Palm Thunder, to which Jiang Lin mindlessly agrees. Sometime later, inside a massive dome-shaped training room, Su Hong and Jiang Lin stand across from each other in a high-tech arena while holding practice spears. Jiang Lin stares at the young trainee, still amazed by the monstrous potential of the boy, admitting to himself that he has never met anyone like Su Hong in his entire life. Pushing aside his shock, Jiang Lin introduces the technique he is about to show, an A-Rank Thunder Spear art called the 9 Heaven-Breaking Spears. As blue lightning violently crackles around his grip, Jiang Lin explains that the art has 3 stances, with 3 unique moves in each stance for a total of 9, and he warns that both the destructive power and the difficulty increase heavily with each stance. Noting the extreme difficulty, Jiang Lin says he would normally never teach it to a fighter below Tier 4, yet given the rare talent of Su Hong, he is confident the boy can learn the first stance without issue. Jiang Lin tells Su Hong to watch closely as his eyes glow. He unleashes the first stance, River Overturning, sending a massive wave of pure lightning crashing down vertically through the arena. Moving smoothly to the next attack, Jiang Lin announces the second stance, Sea Inverting. Sweeping his spear, he summons a huge wave of lightning that surges across the arena like a raging ocean. Su Hong grips his own weapon tightly while watching the incredible display, feeling like a tiny boat lost at sea within the simulated storm, knowing even a single stray bolt could completely capsize him. Without pausing, Jiang Lin performs the third stance, Heaven Breaking. He thrusts his spear, releasing a piercing blast of lightning that strikes the center of the room with explosive force. The residual power of that last spear strike whips up a massive and terrifying tornado of swirling electricity. Su Hong observes the fierce storm and realizes the Grandmaster clearly pulled his punch so as not to destroy the room, and even though he feels like a mere ant in front of him right now. The eyes of Su Hong shine with determination as he firmly resolves that in the future, he will also possess such combat power. As the storm finally fades, Zhang Lin hands Su Hong a small manual explaining the 9 heaven-breaking spears, telling the trainee to practice on his own first and offering to answer any questions if he does not understand something. Su Hong respectfully thanks the Grandmaster for his guidance, but Jiang Lin smiles warmly and says there is no need for thanks as he is just honoring the bet. He promises that once Su Hong masters the first stance, he will teach the second martial art, Palm Thunder, casually adding that while the spear art is strong, its power still falls far short compared to his ultimate Palm Thunder. Su Hong holds the manual tightly with excitement, amazed that Palm Thunder could be even more powerful, and resolves to hurry up and learn this spear art. Waving his hand, Jiang Lin turns to leave the dome, mentioning he has matters to discuss with Qin Tianli and promising to return in a bit to see how the practice is going. An hour later, Grandmaster Jiang Lin returns to the training room and asks Su Hong if he has grasped the trick yet, telling the boy there is no need to rush as it usually takes months to learn. However, he stops dead in his tracks as he sees Su Hong surrounded by a massive, swirling vortex of golden lightning. Su Hong then unleashes a powerful, crackling blast of electricity from his spear. As the lightning fades, Su Hong turns to the Grandmaster and actually complains that the spear art is too difficult, mentioning he has only barely reached the basic level for now. He then immediately asks to be taught the ultimate skill, Palm Thunder. Jiang Lin is left completely dumbfounded and wonders if he is looking at the talent of a true monster. Later, as the sun sets over the horizon, Jiang Lin sits outside the dome with a completely blank expression on his face. Grandmaster Qin Tianli approaches and asks why he is dazed, questioning if he has finished teaching the boy Palm Thunder. Still in shock, Jiang Lin simply says he is done and tells Qin Tianli to go see the results for himself. Skeptical, Grandmaster Qin heads toward the door while wondering if his rival is holding back, noting that Palm Thunder is impossible to learn without hand-in-hand instruction. His words die in his throat the moment he opens the door to find Su Hong crackling with electricity, holding a perfect, high-density ball of lightning in his hands, as he cheerfully announces he has finally learned the skill. Both Grandmasters stand in the doorway, completely stunned, as even Qin Tianli is shocked by the boy's terrifying speed. Jiang Lin despairs as he remembers it took him 3 long months to master the same skill, a feat for which his own teachers had praised him as a genius. Recovering from the shock, Jiang declares that the child's future is limitless and he will definitely reach Tier 9. Qin tells him to stop sighing and offers to take his rival out for a meal, nodding they haven't got together as brothers in a long time. After that, he tells Su Hong that the camp's teaching assistant will arrange a temporary dorm for him since they will depart the next day. Su Hong agrees. That night in his dorm, Su Hong reviews his system interface and notes that after defeating Wang Tianchuo's group and Lin Chunfeng, he has earned 230 martial value points. He realizes his vitality is currently too low and that his spiritual power, physique, and martial arts also need continued upgrading. He knows that 230 points is nowhere near enough for his needs. Since he believes the cultivation realm is the ultimate foundation, Su Hong decides he must prioritize upgrading his vitality. After spending his points, his vitality rises to 138.6, but he realizes he needs a new way to earn more martial value. He concludes that since no one in the camp dares to spar with him anymore, his only option is to kill beasts in the ferocious beast room. Meanwhile, the 2 grandmasters are drinking together. Jiang Lin complains that Qin Tianli is too shameless for scamming him out of 2 A-rank martial arts, but Qin just brushes it off, nodding he has heard this 100 times. They are interrupted by a staff member who announces that the camp's night raid event is about to start, and they are just waiting for the final order. Jiang casually approves the raid and tells the man not to go easy on the trainees, prompting the man to relay the order to drill them mercilessly. Grandmaster Qin sobers up instantly and panics, asking if the raid is tonight because Su Hong is also staying in the dorms. Realizing the massive mistake, Jiang Lin tries to postpone the event, but it is already too late. The notification has been sent and the instructors have begun the hunt. Outside, a team of masked raiders assembles. Bu Jingfeng, who was previously humiliated by Su Hong, asks his brother Bu Jinglong why a Tier 2 high-level martial artist is participating in a simple night raid. Jinglong explains that Grandmaster Jiang Lin specifically asked him to handle a wood spirit body trainee with strong recovery abilities. Jinglong remarks that the Grandmaster is just making him bully a kid who is only at the Tier 2 initial stage, but Jingfeng pauses, nodding the description sounds very familiar. Jinglong smirks and teases his brother about being counterkilled during a previous night raid, telling him he really embarrassed the family. A flustered Bu Jingfeng defends himself, claiming he underestimated the enemy and vowing to eliminate Su Hong if they meet again. Jinglong mockingly questions if beating a Tier 1 initial stage is even something to be proud of, He then orders everyone to put on their hoods and charge. The peace of the dorm is shattered as the masked instructors launch a surprise ambush, smashing through the doors. The commotion alerts Su-hong, who looks out and realizes a night raid is currently underway. He watches an instructor punch a naked student who yells at the man for having no martial virtue. The masked man then spots Su-hong and lunges at him, surprised they actually missed a student during the first wave. Before the man can even react, Su-hong delivers a devastating uppercut that sends the instructor crashing straight into the ceiling. With the instructor stuck in the rafters, an annoyed Su-hong ignites a flame in his hand, complaining that since he isn't even a student here, they shouldn't be attacking him. Looking at the raiders' dark clothes and covered head, Su-hong suddenly has a brilliant idea. He considers that if he changes his clothes and pretends to be a raider, he can openly defeat the students to earn massive martial value. A sly smile spreads across his face, even though he wonders for a second if this would be inappropriate. Down the hall, a naked student begs a masked instructor to wait until he can put his boxers on, but the raider just laughs and tells him to stay still and be knocked out. Suddenly, a disguised Su-hong bursts into the room and announces that he has come to help. The real instructor turns around, confused, and asks what the newcomer is doing there since he is the one in charge of this specific area. Without saying a word, Su-hong punches the instructor through the concrete wall. The student stares in absolute shock, wondering why the raiders are suddenly fighting each other. Su-hong immediately dashes out, declaring he is going to make a killing and earn hundreds of points tonight, while the naked student wonders why he was spared. Thrilled, Su-hong runs down the hall with a flaming fist, realizing that since these raiders are all high tier, he can finally fight without holding back. He then tears through both trainees and raiders alike, beating them down mercilessly until the raiders start screaming that there is a mole in their group. After kicking another opponent into the distance, Su-hong notes that the first floor is cleared and decides to head for the second floor next. On the next level, Su-hong moves like a golden blur, unleashing a flurry of strikes that take down anyone standing in his path. As he races toward the third floor, Su-hong laughs, feeling like he has finally hit the jackpot as his system rewards him for every person he defeats. On the third floor, a group of masked instructors is busy watching the intense battle between Lin Chunfeng and Bu Jinglong. They are impressed by the student's resilience and note that his recovery ability is terrifying, warning that Bu Jinglong will be in danger if the fight drags on. Su-hong walks right up to the spectating raiders and asks why so many of them are blocking the way. Not realizing he is an imposter, they tell him that the other students are beaten and only the wood spirit body remains. Su-hong steps forward with golden energy igniting around his fist and declares there is no need to keep watching. Seeing this, the raiders ask what he thinks he is doing, but before they can react, Su-hong tears through the entire group, stating he has already dealt with the wood spirit body before. The sudden commotion interrupts the main fight, and a confused Jinglong asks why he is hitting his own comrades. Su-hong flares his golden aura and challenges everyone to come at him together. Hearing this, Bu Jinglong tells Lin Chunfeng to step aside and rest, as he intends to deal with the rogue raider personally. He is furious that someone has interfered and charges towards Su-hong, shouting that he will teach him a lesson for breaking the rules of the Night Raiders. Su-hong remains unfazed and channels golden energy into his hand, forming a powerful Vajra fist to meet Jinglong's attack head-on in a fierce clash. The sheer force of the impact sends Jinglong stumbling backward, leaving him stunned by the incredible physical strength of his opponent. He realizes Su-hong is no ordinary fighter and quickly changes his mind, yelling for Lin Chunfeng to join the fight. Chunfeng immediately unleashes his wood prison technique, causing thick vines to erupt from the floor. However, Su-hong swiftly flips out of the way and evades them with ease. Using the distraction, Jinglong appears right behind Su-hong and throws a heavy punch, only for it to slam into a glowing purple thick earth armor that suddenly covers the body of Su-hong. Jinglong stares in absolute shock, wondering where this monstrous fighter came from and how he could so easily block a high-level Tier 2 attack. Before he can even process what has happened, Su-hong vanishes and reappears, smashing the elite instructor into the wall with enough force to shatter his armor and make him cough up blood. Su-hong does not pause and leaps over the stunned Lin Chunfeng to drive his blazing fist into the back of the trainee's head, smashing him face first into the ground and knocking him out cold. Moments later, the system rewards Su-hong with martial value points for both victories. He checks his status and is thrilled to see his balance has skyrocketed to over 2,400 points, celebrating his sudden wealth. The next morning, Lin Chunfeng and Bu Jinglong stand among the other bruised and battered raiders while nursing their injuries and looking completely defeated. An enraged Grandmaster Jiang Lin points at the injured men and loudly blames the carnage on the monster student of Qin Tianli. Qin Tianli plays dumb and casually denies any involvement, prompting Jiang Lin to ask sarcastically who else could have possibly caused such destruction. Jiang loses his patience and furiously yells at them to get lost, kicking his rival out of the camp. Qin simply laughs as he flies away with Su Hong. While they are in the air, the Grandmaster asks Su Hong if he is still missing martial arts for the metal, wood, and water attributes. Su Hong confirms this and is curious why he is asking. With a sly grin, the Grandmaster suggests they go pay a visit to a few more of his old friends. Over the next 10 days, the pair travels to 3 different training camps. They repeat the same plan, with Su Hong easily defeating the local champions, while Qin Tianli smugly collects the winnings and brushes off accusations of cheating from the angry rival grandmasters. Back in his own dorm, Su Hong meditates to absorb his new skills. The system confirms he has successfully learned the basic levels of the A-rank metal ripple, woodvine entanglement, and water dragon techniques. Opening his eyes, Su Hong marvels at his new arsenal and admits he never dreamed he would possess so many A-rank martial arts. Seeing his martial value is now close to 3,000 points, he decides it is finally time to use them to increase his core vitality. Su Hong begins to pour all his accumulated points into his vitality. As the system registers the upgrades, his body surges with intense heat and swells painfully with raw energy. He is sweating heavily from the sudden expansion and realizes he might have added too much at once as his vitality shoots up to 450. As his body slowly returns to normal, a panting Su Hong kneels on the floor. Despite the pain, he is thrilled to realize he is now only 50 points away from breaking through to become a Tier 2 martial artist. Checking his stats, Su Hong sees he has exactly 100 martial value points left. He debates whether to use them to strengthen his spiritual power or his rare overlord body. He decides to test the limits of his special physique and chooses the option to upgrade the overlord body. The system immediately takes his remaining 100 points, but only gives him a tiny 0.1% increase. Seeing this, Su Hong thinks that it is way too hard to upgrade. It seems from now on he should prioritize breaking through to Tier 2 martial artist and decides to go to the ferocious beast room to farm some more martial value. Before he can leave, he runs right into Grandmaster Qin Tianli. The Grandmaster asks if Su Hong is still missing a healing martial art, making him sweat nervously as he guesses the old man is planning to hustle another rival camp. A short time later at the Hang City training camp, Grandmaster Wang Qingshan addresses a large group of trainees. He announces a brutal wilderness special training event, where students must survive in the 10,000 Monster Mountain range for 7 days without any outside supplies. Su Hong stands among the local trainees with his spear and listens to the harsh rules. He silently notes that as a provincial capital, the camp of Hang City is filled with real geniuses, and is much tougher than Star City since these trainees can only earn points by killing beasts at or above their own level. When Grandmaster Wang officially starts the training, Su Hong leaps into the dangerous mountain range along with the rest of the Hang City trainees. Watching the students leave, Grandmaster Wang questions the confidence of Qin Tianli and points out that Su Hong has not even reached Tier 2 yet. Qin Tianli simply confirms their bet. If Su Hong wins the survival challenge, Wang Qingshan must teach him an A-rank healing art. In return, he arrogantly promises to teach an A-rank martial art to every single Hang City student that manages to beat Su Hong. Wang Qingshan is amused by this and wonders if his rival can actually afford to make such a promise, reminding him that half the students are already at Tier 2. He then just brushes off the danger and claims that facing the beasts early will be good for the boy. Hearing this, Grandmaster Qin asks with alarm if beasts from the 10,000 races demonic cult have arrived. Wang casually confirms they have but dismisses them as just low-level Tier 2 and Tier 3 creatures. Qin Tianli accuses Wang Qingshan of sending the students to their deaths by making them fight Tier 3 monsters. Wang coldly replies that the war of 10,000 races is incredibly cruel and true powerhouses can only be forged through extreme hardship. The young trainee is already deep in the wilderness and violently cuts the head off a massive wolf beast with a lightning-infused spear strike. Su Hong is eager to test out his new abilities and summons a barrage of golden metal ripple energy beams that pierce through a pack of beasts. He does not pause and then uses his wood attribute to conjure thick, glowing vines of woodvine entanglement to crush a giant snake. As night falls over the mountain range, Su Hong summons a massive water dragon which violently blasts through a fiery beast, showing his complete dominance over the wilderness. He steps into a dark cave past the glowing body of his latest victim and acknowledges the incredible destructive power of his new A-rank martial arts. However, he also notices that his spiritual energy drains far too quickly when he uses them one after another. Standing in the bloody cave, Su Hong checks his system. Seeing he has earned over 500 martial value points and his vitality is maxed out, he decides it is time to push for his Tier 2 breakthrough. Su Hong sits down to meditate and begins channeling his points into his vitality. A fierce fiery aura erupts around him as the system registers the steady upgrades and pushes his body toward its new limits. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, a red-haired cultist grumbles as he patrols the dark woods. He complains about having to check the perimeter in the middle of the night, certain that no one could possibly find their hidden sacrificial grounds in such a remote mountain range. He suddenly stops in his tracks when he notices the freshly killed body of a massive beast lying just outside the dark cave where Su-hong is meditating. He realizes that an intruder has wandered into their territory after all. Standing at the cave entrance, the cultist calls out maliciously to whoever is hiding inside. The red-haired cultist orders the intruder to surrender, warning of a fate far worse than death if he continues to resist, and glancing at the remains of a Tier 2 red flame black tiger, he assumes his opponent possesses Tier 3 strength at the very most. From inside the cave, Su-hong listens to the man's arrogant tone, and since the cultist speaks so dismissively of Tier 3 martial artists, Su-hong suspects he might be facing a formidable Tier 4 expert. Although he has recently broken through to the Tier 2 realm, he admits he lacks the confidence to defeat a Tier 4 martial artist. Deciding that escaping the cave is his primary objective, Su-hong launches a water dragon attack to cover his retreat. The cultist eagerly grips his sword and shatters the watery beast with a single slash, mocking the move as having the measly power of an early Tier 2 martial artist. Spotting Su-hong trying to flee, the cultist immediately gives chase, praising the young man as a genius for killing a red flame black tiger at such a low level, while sadistically adding that he loves nothing more than strangling lucky geniuses in the cradle. The cultist suddenly stops in confusion and asks the boy why he has stopped running. Su-hong turns to face his pursuer and calmly states that judging from the vitality the man just erupted with, he is actually only at the Tier 3 initial stage, reflecting that he initially thought the man was a Tier 4 fighter. Spotting a distinct tattoo on the man's neck, Su-hong recognizes it as belonging to the heavenly god race. This man is a member of the 10,000 Races demonic cult, a group of human traitors who view their own humanity as a disgrace and capture others to sacrifice to the 10,000 races in exchange for rewards. Disgusted by this human scum, Su-hong flares a golden aura and declares that everyone has the right to execute him. Smirking, the cultist challenges Su-hong's ability to do so and launches an A-rank strike known as Heavenly Sun Slash. Facing a Tier 3 opponent for the first time, Su-hong decides he must use his full strength. He unleashes River Overturning, a massive wave of golden lightning that violently clashes with and completely disperses the fiery attack in a single hit. Su-hong is surprised, wondering how a Tier 3 martial artist could be so weak that his technique was dispersed so easily. The cultist panics, unable to understand how he has fallen into a disadvantage against someone a whole major realm below him despite using an A-rank martial art, while remaining completely baffled as to how his opponent can use both water and thunder attributes. Enraged, the cultist screams that Su-hong is courting death and launches a frantic flurry of sword slashes that the boy effortlessly dodges before vanishing with a rapid movement technique and suddenly reappearing directly behind the cultist. He immediately prepares to unleash another devastating blast of golden lightning known as Treading Sea. Realizing that this power is far stronger than his own Heavenly Sun Slash, the terrified cultist frantically tries to retreat, but before he can escape, thick green vines erupt from the ground as Su-hong uses his wood attribute control-type martial art to bind his leg. The cultist stares in utter disbelief, shocked that Su-hong is now using a wood attribute after water and thunder, and completely immobilized by the vines. The cultist is instantly engulfed by the massive blast of lightning. As the dust settles, Su-hong stares at the smoldering remains. Suddenly, the body begins to melt into the ground, sparking the concern that the man might have escaped using some weird movement technique. The cultist reforms his body, now covered in thick rock armor, and angrily curses his luck for meeting a monster instead of a human genius. Su-hong declares that the cultist has nowhere left to run, and the armored cultist prepares his counterattack, initiating a transformation that sprouts large wings from his back while demanding that the boy feel the divine might of the heavenly god race. Su-hong thrusts his spear forward and mocks the man for mutating into such a sick appearance, stating the demonic cult is completely insane. The cultist catches the spear tip with his bare armored hand, bragging that once he finishes his bloodline modification, he will be a true member of the heavenly god race. He declares that his sacrificial event will not tolerate any interruption. Su-hong immediately retaliates, unleashing a fierce blast of fire that pierces straight through the wing of the cultist. Capitalizing on the opening, Su-hong instantly activates his flame cage technique, trapping the cultist inside a blazing prison. He then channels pure lightning into his weapon and executes the ultimate heaven-breaking stance of his A-rank spear art. The crackling spear violently pierces straight through the rock armor, delivering a devastating explosive blow. The cultist gasps out the word monster as his mutated body completely shatters into pieces just moments later. Checking his system, Su-hong sees he has earned 212 martial value points for killing the mutated evil spawn, realizing that hunting these fanatics is incredibly lucrative compared to the long grind against beasts. Remembering the mention of a sacrifice, Su-hong quickly deduces they have captured humans and decides he must notify the Grandmaster. Back at the Hang City training camp, Grandmaster Qin Tianli checks his phone and relays the report to Grandmaster Wang Qingshan, mentioning the presence of the demonic cult and their sacrificial event. Wang Qingshan calmly sips his tea and says that if the targets are the cultists' own members, there is no need to care about them. He questions why Qin Tianli is still drinking tea instead of saving his student, but Grandmaster Qin casually replies that Su-hong has already killed the Tier 3 initial-level cultist. Wang Qingshan scoffingly refuses to believe a Tier 1 trainee could defeat such an opponent and accuses Qin Tianli of bragging. 3 days later, Su-hong has killed quite a few Tier 3 ferocious beasts but has not found another member of the demonic cult. His total martial value currently sits at 682, a sum that will never grow as fast as it would by killing cultists. Suddenly, his heightened senses pick up a presence. A blue-haired woman with black wing tattoos on her back stands on a nearby branch, playfully praising the handsome little brother for discovering her. Gathering sharp ice energy in her hand, she offers a seductive smile but ruthlessly declares that since he has barged in, he can only go die. She instantly launches a rapid barrage of deadly ice spikes at him. The demonic cult has delivered martial value right to Su-hong's door, and a confident smile spreads across his face. Su-hong counters the incoming strike with a powerful water dragon. The two elemental powers violently collide, creating a thick veil of smoke that hangs over the area. Suddenly, a whip shoots out from the mist, but Su-hong reacts instantly to catch the weapon, reflecting that he might as well ask her where the other demonic cult strongholds are located. He yanks the whip with immense force, pulling the panicked woman through the air directly toward him. As she enters his range, Su-hong delivers a brutal punch to her stomach using his bone nether ghost fist technique, defeating her in an instant. Standing over her, he points his spear at her neck and demands she speak, asking where the stronghold of her 10,000 races demonic cult is hidden. The terrified and bleeding woman begs for her life, revealing that the base is 10 kilometers north of their current location. Su-hong presses further, asking how many Tier 3 martial artists arrived this time, and she confesses that including herself, there are 3 Tier 3 and 3 Tier 2 martial artists in total. Su-hong calculates his progress, noting that with 2 Tier 3 martial artists already down, only one remains, and he will completely wipe out the remaining cultists to earn over 1,000 martial value, points to evolve his spiritual telekinesis to Tier 2. Refusing to stay down, the female cultist yells that he has underestimated his enemy and that she will not let him off. Triggering a transformation, she calls upon the heavenly god race to mutate as large wings sprout from her back, arrogantly boasting that her strength has doubled enough to instantly kill him. Su-hong does not give her the chance and immediately counters with a powerful spear thrust, unleashing a massive pillar of golden lightning. As her mutated form fades, Su-hong pulls his spear from her falling body, declaring that the 10,000 races demonic cult has committed too many crimes for him to let a single one escape, and coldly tells her to contribute her martial value to him. His system window confirms a profit of 212 martial value points, leaving him highly satisfied. Meanwhile, at the 10,000 races demonic cult sacrifice stronghold, a small group of trainees find themselves completely surrounded near a massive stone pyramid. The trapped Hang City trainees panic, realizing it is a deadly trap and that they were lied to about the numbers, cursing their intelligence report as they face a large squad of Tier 3 martial artists instead of just a few Tier 2s. The Blood Commander coldly orders his men to kill the intruders. The cultists eagerly charge, targeting the 3 Tier 2 middle-stage geniuses while maliciously declaring they will skin them and pull out their tendons as sacrifices to their lords. Refusing to go down without a fight, the desperate trainees decide to perish together, trusting that their Grandmaster will avenge them. High above the battlefield, the Grandmasters are calmly observing the situation, and Wang Qingshan proudly points out his top 3 geniuses to Qin Tianli, who acknowledges their bravery for fighting with their lives on the line, while Wang Qingshan suggests letting them fight for a bit and only intervening if things get truly bad. However, Qin Tianli smirks confidently and tells him there is no need for them to make a move. He points out that his family's little monster, Su-hong, is already diving into the valley to save the students. Wang glares at him in disbelief, asking how much fake alcohol he drank today to dare to brag like that, scoffing at the idea that a Tier 1 high-level trainee could save people from a group of Tier 3 martial artists. Down in the valley, one of the top trainees steps forward to cover his teammates, declaring that they should retreat quickly, but they refuse, stating that if they die, they will die together. A cultist lunges with glowing red claws, laughing that none of them will get away. Suddenly, a crackling spear of golden lightning shoots past the trainees and pins the cultist to a tree, killing him instantly. The remaining cultists stop in their tracks and angrily demand to know who goes there. Su-hong appears in their midst like a flash of lightning. Using his 9 heaven-breaking spears, river-overturning skill, he grabs 2 cultists and brutally smashes them together. He then gathers his energy and unleashes a blinding flurry of lightning punches through his palm thunder technique, instantly stopping several more enemies. Standing among the defeated bodies, Su-hong calmly asks the stunned trainees if they are all right. The Hang City geniuses stare in awe, recognizing him as Su-hong from Star City and marveling at how he could instantly kill so many Tier 3 martial artists. Watching from the air, Wang Qingshan breaks into a nervous sweat, asking Qin Tianli why his student knows Palm Thunder when he was supposed to be taught healing martial arts. And seeing Su-hong continuously cast the skill, he suspects the boy has already broken through to Tier 2. Qin Tianli is secretly just as shocked, realizing it has only been a few days since he last saw the boy as a Tier 1 initial stage, finding this cultivation speed completely ridiculous. Back in the valley, Su-hong tells the Hang City trainees that he will cover them and they should go first, and still dazed by his power, they tell him to be careful as they quickly retreat. A greedy grin spreads across Su-hong's face as he reflects that the woman dared to lie to him, given that there are actually over a dozen Tier 3 martial artists present. He excitedly thinks that they are all his and no one is allowed to fight him for them, nodding that taking out one is worth at least 200 martial value, making this a massive profit. Suddenly, a huge cultist charges at Su-hong, calling him a stinking rat and roaring that he will smash him into meat paste. Unfazed, Su-hong easily dodges the brute's guard and delivers a heavy punch, sending the massive man crashing down. Su-hong gathers more lightning in his hands and tells the remaining enemies that it is now their turn. Terrified by his overwhelming strength, the surviving cultists back away and tell him not to come any closer. They scream that he is a devil and beg the Blood Commander to save them. The man at the top of the pyramid inhales deeply, looking over the dead bodies with a look of crazy joy. He happily announces that the 10,000 races holy cult will not forget their sacrifice and that it is all worth it. Su-hong pauses in confusion as he notices the blood from the fallen enemies is gathering and floating toward the top of the pyramid. He wonders if this is what they call a sacrifice. The massive amount of blood suddenly bursts with a blinding light, transforming the man into a figure with large white wings as he arrogantly calls them lowly humans and demands to know why they aren't kneeling before a noble of the heavenly god race. Su-hong grips his spear with an excited look. He figures that if killing a mutated demonic cultist gives that much martial value, he will get even more for killing a real member of the heavenly god race. The member of the heavenly god race stares down at Su-hong with pure arrogance, questioning who permitted a mere ant to look up at him and declaring that he must die for his insolence. The winged man vanishes in a blur and reappears directly behind the boy. Su-hong panics as he is caught completely off guard by the entity's incredible speed. Su-hong narrowly manages to block the incoming attack, but the massive force causes the earth beneath him to shatter. The winged man smirks, finding it interesting that such a capable warrior exists among the younger generation of humans. Meanwhile, Su-hong reflects on the fact that the heavenly god race is indeed extremely powerful. Floating in the air, the possessed cultist admits he thought this possession would involve nothing more than killing a few human ants, but he identifies Su-hong as a monster genius and decides to kill him right now to remove the threat forever. Suddenly, the host's arm cracks under the strain as the divine power begins to overwhelm a physical body that hasn't even reached Tier 4 vitality. Even so, he declares that Tier 3 peak strength is more than enough to kill an ant like Su-hong and prepares to throw another devastating punch. Su-hong overhears the muttered complaints and realizes this is not a true heavenly god, but rather a human body possessed by one. Su-hong channels golden lightning into a thunder rush fist, declaring that it remains to be seen who will kill whom as he lunges forward. The two clash violently, exchanging devastating strikes that cause the entire valley to shake. Watching from above, Qin Tianli casually remarks on the formidable physical body of the heavenly god race, while Wang Qingshan asks in surprise why the focus is on the enemy, as he is completely baffled that a lower realm fighter is using pure physical strength to match and even suppress an opponent possessed by a heavenly god. Su-hong strikes the enemy with a heavy lightning punch, forcing the entity to stagger back. The injured heavenly god demands to know what kind of physique the human possesses, reeling with disbelief that even on the all-heavens battlefield against chosen ones, he never suffered a loss in physical strength. Su-hong looks relaxed and smirks at him, asking if something is wrong and goading him to keep going. Su-hong flares his aura with a feeling of exhilaration, reflecting that since awakening the overlord body, he was afraid of killing people by mistake, but now he can focus entirely on how to kill his opponent. He remarks that if the heavenly god's true body were here, the battle would be even more satisfying. The heavenly god screams in fury at being humiliated by a human ant before unleashing his ultimate technique, Divine Arsenal. A multitude of golden spears manifest from glowing portals. Floating above, he declares Su Hong is the first one to ever force him to use this move. Su Hong senses that the golden spears have the power to destroy a Tier 3 martial artist, but a system notice suddenly appears stating this martial art cannot be learned, leaving him to wonder if there are skills that simply cannot be copied. Wang Qingshan identifies the move as Divine Arsenal, an innate skill only those with pure bloodlines can cast, while Qin Tianli wonders if the enemy's bloodline is pure enough to make him a big shot in his race. Grandmaster Wang insists they must hurry and save Su Hong, fearing a precious treasure like him might die, but Qin Tianli tells him not to panic because Su Hong still has his own ultimate move. Qin Tianli smugly reveals that Su Hong has 100% compatibility with all 7 attributes and already mastered the fusion of thunder and fire as a Tier 1 martial artist, leaving Wang Qingshan utterly shocked. The heavenly god admits Su Hong will become a massive threat if allowed to grow up, and declares that his life must end today. He fires the barrage of golden spears down toward Su Hong. Su Hong smirks and tells the enemy that he is also the first to make him use his full strength. He channels lightning into his weapon and prepares the third stance of the 9 heaven-breaking spears. Su Hong shouts heaven-breaking and thrusts his spear upward, unleashing a massive blast of raw lightning that effortlessly obliterates the golden spears. The heavenly god screams that it is impossible as the destructive energy surges toward him. The attack triggers a massive explosion, carbonizing the enemy's body and shattering it into pieces. The strike even slices the massive stone pyramid in half. Su Hong stands before the ruins, trembling and exhausted, but he smirks as his system shows he earned 843 martial value points, proving the fight was worth the effort. Wang Qingshan lands nearby and calls him a precious treasure and a great genius. He grabs the boy's face and admits he never would have believed a Tier 2 martial artist could defeat a heavenly god if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes. Su Hong reflects on how an ordinary clansman from a top 10 race forced him to use his trump card, realizing how truly terrifying their real geniuses must be. He asks if he was wrong to think so, and Wang Qingshan tells him that defeating a small fry heavenly god is not something to get overly excited about. 4 days later, the special training finally comes to an end. The rankings show Su Hong in first place with over 17,000 points, while second place only has 4,700, leading some trainees to suspect he cheated. But the geniuses he saved quickly shut down the rumors, explaining that he is impossibly strong and defeated Tier 3 demonic cultists with a single move. The trainees soon learn that Wang Qingshan is personally teaching the boy an A-rank martial art. Walking out of the hall, Wang complains that the monster learned his healing art in only half a day, to which Qin Tianli tells him to simply get used to it. Inside the training room, Su Hong meditates in silence, finding that the A-rank healing art is extremely effective, having removed all of his old scars. He checks his interface and sees he has over 14,000 martial value points, realizing he can now increase his spiritual power to 500 to become a Tier 2 spirit master and significantly boost his vitality. Elsewhere at the Heavenly God Palace, a voice emanating from a statue asks how they could possibly lose to a human an entire realm lower, even after using the Divine Arsenal. Tian Ming confirms the humiliating defeat and warns that the human is a monster genius. The statue calls for Tian Shang, who steps forward into the light. The statue declares that the child will become a massive threat and issues a kill order to eliminate him as soon as possible. Tian Shang accepts the order with a sinister smile. The statue asks if any divine object fragments have been found in human territory, and while Tian Shang reports they haven't found any yet, he mentions hearing recent news, prompting the statue to order a continued search while ensuring the human race remains unaware. Trainees at the Star City training camp watch a live feed as Wang Tianchuo decapitates a Tier 2 bear beast using his bone netherfire fist. The surrounding crowd notes that ever since Su Hong defeated Wang Tianchuo, Xiao Yan, and Lin Xing, the 3 elites have been fighting like absolute maniacs. Driven by their loss, the trio spent every day pushing themselves in the combat rooms, exchanging all their contribution points for pills to improve their strength, and allowing all 3 to break through to Tier 2 within a single month. Even Lin Xing abandoned his typical flashy style and trained hard enough to transform into a muscular macho man. Now prepared and confident, the 3 elites await the return of Su Hong, eager for a rematch. Later outside the camp, Lin Zi welcomes back Grandmaster Qin. Noticing the young prodigy is missing, Lin Zi asks where Su Hong is, and Qin Tianli explains that the kid wanted to stay in the woods for a few more days of solo training. When Lin Zi worries that Su Hong might miss the end of the training camp, the Grandmaster assures him that the kid isn't stupid enough to do that. 2 days later, deep in the wilderness, Su Hong sits meditating atop a high stone pillar while a snake beast coils around the rock below. Surging with golden energy, he absorbs his recent gains until his system confirms his spiritual power has reached the 500-point threshold. Sensing its prey, the giant snake roars and lunges at the meditating trainee. Su Hong casually extends his glowing hand and freezes the beast mid-strike with the weight of his telekinesis. Unleashing his amplified power, he activates his weapon condensation art to form a construct of golden energy to crush his immobilized prey. He shapes the energy into a massive golden sword and with a single command, brings the blade crashing down to split the snake in half. As he disperses the weapon, Su Hong reflects that the martial skill power of a Tier 2 Spirit Master is truly terrifying. Eager to test the limits of his enhanced spiritual capacity, he decides to attempt a 3-attribute fusion by gathering thunder, fire, and metal energy in his hands. As soon as the 3 attributes come together, they instantly become volatile. Su Hong realizes too late that he is losing control as the energy begins to spiral out of his command. The blast detonates with a massive roar, shattering the stone pillar he stood on. Coughing in the rubble, he notes that the power of a failed fusion is terrifying, considering that a successful strike might even be able to injure a Tier 4 martial artist. On the final day of the training camp, a ragged Su Hong walks back through the front gates. Spotting him, the other trainees rush to notify Wang Tianchuo, eager to see the rematch. Grandmaster Qin Tianli asks the 3 young prodigies if they truly think they can win against Su Hong. Xiao Yan, Lin Xing, and Wang Tianchuo declare that their victory is guaranteed. Su Hong asks the trio if they are sure they really want to challenge him. Flaring their new auras, Wang Tianchuo warns Su Hong not to underestimate them now that all 3 have broken through to Tier 2, while Xiao Yan boasts she can now defeat him alone. Offering a sheepish apology, Su Hong interrupts their boasting before erupting in a fierce fiery aura, revealing that he is also a Tier 2 martial artist now. Despite her shock, Xiao Yan ignites her power and declares that she is still a spirit master and is not afraid of him. She activates her weapon condensation art, summoning a giant golden sword from the sky. In response, Su Hong activates his own weapon condensation art and summons a massive golden sword of his own that instantly crushes the spiritual weapon of Xiao Yan, causing her to cough up blood before the strike even lands. Pointing his summoned sword at the trio, Su Hong apologizes once more before revealing that he is actually a spirit master as well. The 3 elites back away in shock as they realize Su Hong is both a Tier 2 spirit master and a Tier 2 martial artist with a top-tier special physique, meaning he never even used his full strength during their last spar. Finding the trio insufficient for his needs, Su Hong smirks and asks the entire camp to come at him together, reflecting that this is another great opportunity to earn a ton of martial value. He unleashes a glare at the surrounding trainees, breaking their fighting spirit. The crowd erupts into panic, screaming that they surrender and begging him not to come near them. Watching from the sidelines, Beimu and Lin Zi complain to Grandmaster Qin, feeling hurt that he kept Su Hong's spirit master status a secret from them. However, a sweating and speechless Qin Tianli can only stare in silence, having been blindsided by the revelation that his student reached Tier 2 as a spirit master. Realizing the Grandmaster was kept in the dark as well, the instructors watch as Qin Tianli throws his head back and bursts into laughter, declaring Su Hong a monster seen only once in a millennium. But after watching Su Hong beat down the crowd of trainees, Beimu asks if they should go stop them, though Lin Zi tells her there is no need to mind them as this is simply youth. Suddenly, Grandmaster Qin Tianli notices a heavy presence approaching. The golden-winged great rock descends from the sky, ordering the humans to get out of its sight since 30 days have passed. Su Hong looks up and recognizes the giant bird once again. Annoyed by the creature's arrogance, Qin Tianli erupts with his immense aura. He declares he has already given the feathered bird enough face and mocks its pathetic attempt to chase people away. He leaps onto the giant bird and unleashes a relentless barrage of strikes. Watching from below, the terrifying power of a Tier 7 Grandmaster's flames makes the entire clash feel like a battle between immortals. Standing atop the battered bird's head, he listens as the creature begs him to stop, warning that it has a big shot backing it today, but the Grandmaster challenges it to call him out so he can beat him up too. The Grandmaster's confidence is suddenly interrupted when a booming voice orders that it is enough. The sky oscillates as a massive shadowy entity with glowing red eyes materializes. Lin Zi and Beimu stare in horror, realizing the rock is actually related to the Lord of 10,000 Monsters. Su Hong breaks into a cold sweat as he recognizes the entity as one of the few strongest in the Monster Mountain range, a being guaranteed to be at least Tier 9 or even the King title realm. Su Hong stares up at the massive shadowy Lord of 10,000 Monsters and feels the crushing weight of its gaze. This encounter highlights his own insignificance compared to experts at Tier 9 and above, making his current Tier 2 strength look like a grain of sand against a mountain. A deep sense of dread washes over him as he thinks of his family, knowing that if a being this powerful ever attacks Star City, he will be completely helpless to protect his aunt and uncle. Looking toward the sky, Su-hong decides to push past his current limits, vowing to break through every stage until he reaches the legendary King Realm. Meanwhile, Qin Tianli releases his grip on the beaten golden-winged Great Rock, letting the beast go now that it has a powerful backer. The golden-winged Great Rock angrily promises retaliation as it flies away into the distance, its form eventually dissipating. Watching it go, Qin Tianli is thankful that the Lord of 10,000 Monsters is bound by an old agreement with the human race that prevents him from attacking casually, meaning there is no need to worry about him bullying the younger generation. Despite the terrifying interruption, the training camp ends without further trouble, and the trainees soon gather by the buses to return. Su-hong puts on his backpack, thinking about how much his uncle and aunt must be worrying after a full month away from home. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him as Li Tu and Chen Shan run over to greet him. Li Tu laughs and tells Su-hong that after this training camp, his name will be famous throughout all of Star City. Chen Shan awkwardly mentions their past issues and asks Su-hong not to target them in the future. Su-hong lets out a sigh and tells them he is not that petty, declaring that if they had not mentioned those things, he would have already forgotten them. Upon leaving the camp, an official welcomes the students and congratulates them on finishing the difficult training. The official announces that the City Lord's estate has organized a grand banquet to welcome everyone back, complete with various gifts prepared specifically for them. While the other trainees cheer, a tired Su-hong would rather skip the festivities, wanting only to go back as soon as possible and reunite with his uncle and aunt. Later, guests begin arriving at the massive City Lord's estate. The fancy banquet hall is soon filled with people, and the sound of chatter as a waiter politely shows two nervous guests to their table. Su-hong's uncle and aunt sit at the table looking awkward and out of place. Some wealthy guests notice the couple and judge their simple clothes, wondering aloud if migrant workers are even allowed to attend such an event. The aunt wonders if they are embarrassing little Hong by dressing like this, while the uncle sighs and admits that even though they are wearing their best clothes, they probably should not have come. Their worry is cut short when Li Changshan of No. 1 High School approaches them, warmly greeting them as Su-hong's relatives and identifying himself as the principal. Surprised by the attention from such an important person, the couple return the greeting while feeling incredibly nervous, but Li Changshan tells them there is no need for that. Suddenly, Wu Lingxian, president of the Star City Martial Artist Association, hurries over and enthusiastically shakes the hand of the uncle. She loudly declares that the child, Su-hong, is the most promising genius she has ever seen, leaving the uncle even more overwhelmed by the attention. The wealthy guests watch in shock as the city officials personally greet the seemingly ordinary couple, wondering who Su-hong is and if there is a hidden Su family in Star City they have overlooked. Meanwhile, at the center table, the most powerful leaders of Star City are gathered together. Lin Xing's father tells the city lord that with a barbarian god body, his son Wang Tianchuo must have easily taken first place in this training camp. Wang Nai laughs and notes that the Xiao family and Lin family also make him envious, since one is the only spirit master among the young generation in O Star City, while the other has terrifying comprehension. Xiao Yan's father argues that compared to the barbarian god body, a spirit master is actually stronger, predicting his daughter will probably take first place. Lin Xing's father scoffs and says that with his son's movement technique, the other kids have likely already been defeated. This begins a heated argument among the three fathers, with Wang Nai slamming the table and shouting that his son's attack power far exceeds ordinary people. Xiao Yan's father counters that his daughter has the potential to become a king, while Lin Xing's father argues that speed is unbreakable, leading Wang Nai to yell that his son will completely crush those two. Watching from a distance, Li Changshan asks Wu Lingxian if she is going to break up the fight. She asks if he really wants her to intervene in a fight between men showing off their kids, adding that she might not be able to hold back from beating them all up. She confidently says that when Su-hong arrives, those guys will all have to shut up. Li Changshan asks if she really thinks that highly of a student who is only at the Tier 1 initial stage, but Wu Lingxian just smirks and calls it woman's intuition. Suddenly, a guard urgently reports to Wang Nai that the special bus from training camp has arrived. Eager to see his son's return, the city lord proudly invites everyone to come out and welcome the pride of Star City. The three fathers wait by the red carpet with total confidence, but their smiles disappear when their children step off the bus, looking less like champions and more like victims covered in bandages and bruises. As Wang Nai panics over his son's disfigured face, Lin Xinghe mentions that he admitted defeat quickly to take fewer beatings, while Wang Tianchuo absolutely refused to give up. The horrified fathers are stunned, demanding to know who could possibly win against them all. The shock grows when they sense the auras of the students and realize all three have broken through to Tier 2, leaving them wondering what kind of monster has appeared in Star City. The three elites admit defeat completely, describing how their opponent's strength, speed, and spiritual telekinesis are all far superior to their own. The trio tells their fathers to just see for themselves, identifying the winner as a complete monster. Footsteps are heard as the rest of the returning trainees, all equally beaten up, quickly form two rows outside the bus. Su-hong casually steps onto the red carpet while holding his spear. He looks completely unharmed, thinking that having the others line up like this is incredibly awkward when he just wants to go home. Su-hong spots his uncle and aunt in the crowd and immediately calls out to them. The surrounding elites are shocked to see that the amazing genius is actually the child of commoners. As the aunt rushes toward him, she slips and begins to fall. Before she can hit the ground, Su-hong uses a burst of spiritual energy to catch her, leaving her floating in the air for a moment. He rushes over and uses his telekinesis to gently lower her to the ground before asking if they are hurt. Amazed, his uncle asks what kind of martial art that was, calling it amazing, while the aunt says they are fine and just got a startle. The uncle tells him he has gotten stronger again and admits they were worried sick for the past month. Su-hong smiles and tells them there is no need to worry about him since he has returned. Watching this display of power, Wang Nai and Xiao Yan's father are in shock, realizing that Su-hong is a Tier 2 spirit master. Nearby, Li Changshan and Wu Lingxian point at each other, with the principal asking why she didn't say he was a spirit master while she accuses him of hiding it. They both realize in that moment that neither of them actually knew. Wu Lingxian laughs loudly and asks which other master still dares to covet her position, warning them to be careful, or she will bring Su-hong to beat their disciples to a pulp. Li Changshan laughs and declares that next year everyone will see exactly how they will fight for resources. The news of Su-hong's true power causes a frenzy among the wealthy guests, who scramble on their phones to demand his information. One man declares he has found the perfect husband for his daughter and orders her to be brought to the estate quickly and dressed beautifully. Seizing the moment, Wang Nai has an attendant bring out a tray containing a premium bank card and property deeds. He approaches Su-hong and identifies himself as the city lord. He praises Su-hong as the #1 genius of Star City and a true dragon among men, presenting him with a villa and 3 million in cash as a first-place reward. The other fathers silently curse the city lord for being a sly old fox who acted too fast, realizing he prepared the gift on the spot to target the family's poverty. Wang Nai extends his hand and promises that if Su-hong has any needs in the future, he will definitely help him with all his might. Su-hong wonders if the city lord is publicly trying to win him over, weighing the risk of offending him against the debt of accepting such a favor. Su-hong decides that offending the city lord is a risk he cannot afford, recognizing that accepting this protection ensures his family's safety while he ventures out for experience. With the combined support of Grandmaster Qin Tianli, President Wu Lingxian, and Principal Li Changshan, there is little chance the city lord can force him into anything excessive in the future. Su-hong thanks Wang Nai for his profound kindness and shakes his hand, openly stating that he does indeed require assistance, which pleases the city lord enough to grant any request. The first thing Su-hong asks for is help treating his aunt's rare disease. Touched by his immediate concern for their well-being, Su Guoming and his wife are moved to tears. Wang Nai wastes no time ordering Director Xiang to personally oversee the matter and utilize the city's best medical resources for her treatment. The city lord then pushes for further requests, prompting the boy to mention his need for a handy weapon. Wang Nai laughs and invites Su-hong to the armory to take his pick, privately calculating that the more the boy demands, the deeper he will be bound to the Wang family. Su-hong asks his aunt and uncle to wait for him as Wang Nai instructs his son Wang Tianchuo to host the banquet in their absence. The couple feels a wave of unease as they are led away, while the surrounding crowd whispers about the meteoric rise of the Su family's status. Inside the massive armory, Wang Nai points out the different sections for C-rank, B-rank, and A-rank alloy weapons. He tells Su-hong to go straight to the A-rank area to pick one that matches his attribute, a weapon category worth hundreds of millions. The conversation takes a turn when Su-hong asks if there are any multi-attribute alloy weapons available, catching the city lord off guard. Explaining that Grandmaster Qin Tianli advised this choice due to his unique cultivation. The youth demonstrates his power by manifesting 7 different elemental orbs around his body. Showing off this monstrous talent is a calculated move, ensuring that Wang Nai values his potential even more highly than before. The city lord stands stunned, unable to fathom how the boy's cultivation speed remains so high despite training 7 different attributes simultaneously. To him, a Tier 2 7-attribute martial artist and spirit master with a special physique is nothing less than a legendary star descending to Earth. Wang Nai lets out a heavy sigh and calls Su Hong his good nephew, jokingly lamenting that his uncle Wang is truly useless by comparison. He explains that multi-attribute weapons are extremely rare, and his private collection only holds a few dual-attribute pieces. After searching the shelves, Wang Nai presents a B-rank dark gold black iron spearhead with 3 attributes, even offering to dismantle an A-rank shaft to assemble it. Su Hong graciously accepts the spearhead but plans to use the shaft from his own Thunder Fire Spear, considering this 3-attribute weapon more than enough for now. As he hands it over, Wang Nai mentions that strange anomalies have appeared near Star City with rumors of multi-attribute ferocious beasts, catching Su Hong's interest. Global anomalies have apparently been creating these multi-attribute beasts alongside various natural treasures. A specific report shares news of a lightning beast gaining fire attributes after coming into contact with a mysterious fragment. One such beast was spotted at Stargazing Lake, though the city lord warns that it is far too dangerous to venture there before entering a Martial Dao University. Su Hong thanks the city lord for the valuable guidance. Several hours pass before a vehicle arrives downstairs at Su Hong's old house. A Star City government vehicle with the exclusive Jiangnan 1 license plate pulls up, leaving the neighbors in total shock. Lin Nian, the landlady, watches with a burning jealousy and thinks she would die happy if her own son could provide her with such luxury. She resentfully recalls her previous attempts to force Su Hong into giving up his training spot for her son. The heavy car doors swing open, and Su Hong, Su Guoming, and the aunt step out as the neighbors conclude the family has finally struck it rich. Lin Nian can only stare in horror at the unfolding scene. Su Guoming cheerfully informs the landlady that they won't be renting the apartment anymore because Su Hong took first place and was gifted a villa. When the uncle asks for a refund of their remaining rent, his wife stops him and tells him not to be stingy, leaving the extra money as a gift for sister Lin Nian. As they head upstairs, the wife fusses about not moving their old furniture to avoid embarrassing their big-shot nephew, but Su Hong just laughs it off. Later that night, Su Hong stands on the roof and feels a faint reluctance to leave this familiar place behind. He opens his status window to find exactly 1944 martial value points remaining, with his vitality sitting at 506.9 and spiritual power at 500. Prioritizing his core cultivation, he pours every remaining point into his vitality. A surge of intense heat causes his muscles to bulge as his vitality rises to 701.3, signaling a breakthrough to the Tier 2 middle stage. Once his body size returns to normal, Su Hong takes out his phone to research Stargazing Lake. In the process, he accidentally cracks the screen because his body has not yet adapted to this explosive new strength. He scrolls through news about S-rank spirit herbs and grandmasters fighting abroad, reading that those who saw a mysterious fragment at the lake died inexplicably. The presence of a Tier 2 multi-attribute beast at the lake is currently attracting a large number of Tier 3 and 4 hunters, though Su Hong figures that escaping any danger should be easy. He resolves that once the move is finished tomorrow, he will head straight for Stargazing Lake.